Yeah, I also think the Omni junkies, right? I don't think the ancients view things as strict as like the Omni junkies. It's like, is he so powerful he can't make a rock, he can't lift, like all that stuff? I just think the authors of the text just think he's the most powerful and knowledgeable of all the gods and everything.
Yeah, well, I would say he's the only creator, right? And obviously he's the most powerful. When it comes to some of these conceptual ideas of, physics and philosophy, I might clash with those, the understanding of space, time, and all these things, and God can't be confined to space and time or whatever. Anyway, I'm going to get out of here, but it was good talking to you guys, and Andrew, you're very articulate, so I'm glad I can be part of this conversation. Maybe I'll have a conversation with you in the future. See you guys later.
I appreciate you. Bruce, join the house. The link's above me, and anybody who hasn't, please do. Bruce, I appreciate you being here. I'm glad I bumped into you in that room. Come back anytime, brother. We do rooms often. So
is this your house?
I mean, right now we're in a public room, but the house right above me is a house that I often am in, or am in at least at times, and we will do more rooms there. So yeah, just join it, man. Add me, and then just come back. We're here pretty much every day, man. I appreciate you being here, man.
Great stuff, guys. And this
Hey, Bruce, real quick. Just to let you know about Andrew, he thinks God is black. So.
Yeah, no, I don't. But, appreciate you, Bruce, and God bless you, buddy. And come back. We'll be here.
Yeah, God bless you guys. Wonderful. All right, later.
All right, man. Later. Appreciate it. Amir, are you here, sir? You said something in the chat. I just wanted to ask you about, and I'm glad to have you on the stage.
Yeah, I'm Andrew. Thank you. Yes.
Appreciate it, man. So you said something. You said, JCC, you're right. The so-called holy books of all religions are nothing more than, the holy books of all religions are nothing more than, what does it say here? JCC, you're right. The holy books of all religions are nothing more, let me just kind of jump past it here. Nothing more than fairy tales, I think, is what you put it.
Something to that effect.
Yes. So, how do you know that that's true? I'm just curious.
Well, first of all, guys, I just apply basic logic to it. Delete the sort of the stories. Let me just tell you what my background is. I was born in a Muslim family, and I was a Muslim for a long time. And then I started sort of looking at the literature from a logic perspective, and a lot of these stories just don't add up. And that's why I came across the conclusion that it needs to be, read to children as children's stories. I mean, like the Noah, for example. I mean, how can that possibly be right? So that's where I'm coming from.
You know what's interesting about that? The scholars that, non-believing atheist scholars, right? The people that, study these texts from, a scholastic standpoint, none of them describe these texts as, fairy tales, right? They'll say, hey, these are ancient texts, and give us a view into the world back then, their views of morality. Like, a fairy tale is, something specifically made for entertainment, right? Hey, we're making a story.
Children's stories, I didn't say fairy tale, I said children's stories.
Even children's stories, these are stories incorporated for adults on, hey, this is how, especially if you look at the Torah, this is like our theocratic constitution, and it's based on these things. So a fairy tale or even a children's story is to entertain children. And I'm pretty sure you read the Old Testament. That book is rated R, okay? It's not, I wouldn't describe that as a children's book.
Some of the stuff children watch these days pretty regularly.
You know what I'm saying?
So are you saying that the Old Testament is wrong? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that it's not for children. It's not it's not.
But you're saying that, for example, Eunice was swallowed by a whale and the ark is correct. Is that what you're claiming?
I'm saying, I'm disputing the claim that it's made for children. That's the claim.
Are you assuming that these are correct? Are you saying that these two stories are correct? They actually happened?
Yeah, the
I
stories
think that's an accurate description.
stories are scary.
They don't even have to listen. I'm not even saying you can say they're fantasy. There's fantasy books that are written not for kids, right? That's the point I'm disputing. Like The Watchmen is a fantasy comic book, but it's not a comic book made for kids, right?
He's saying it's the wrong genre. He's saying it's the wrong genre.
It's the wrong
genre. Right?
If it's the wrong genre, then why is it in the children's book category in the library in Wazar?
Well, they do a different depiction of it for children to read. They don't do it in a manner the same way it is for us to read, right? So
a majority of the history, at least certainly in the New Testament, there's going to be a massive amount of historical facts that are correct. So you can do this thing where you don't agree with the metaphysical claims about sin, God existing, Jesus rising from the dead, walking on water, etc. That's fine, right? You can dispute that. Many people do. But as far as Jesus actually being a person who existed as a man, or the Capernaum or the
Babylonian exile. Right?
Yeah, the Babylonian exile, King Cyrus, all these different folks. Like, there's going to be many things that are just going to be taken as historical. Then they're used for historical validation as well to come up with certain facts about history. So I don't think it's quite appropriate to say that these are storybooks. Now, I think I get what you're doing there, and I think it's kind of meant to kind of to devalue maybe or to reduce the authenticity of taking these things seriously. But
I don't honestly need to do much to sort of take away the authenticity of it. I mean, you only have to look at most of the stories in there. It just does it for you. So just look at the Genesis, at the beginning of Genesis. I mean, you're talking about the hand of water, the hand of God over the water before even you have light. You can't even have condensation without having light. So I mean, it just doesn't. There's just so many errors in there.
Do you say this about all ancient writings in antiquity?
100%, yes. Anything that does not add up
So
to
we can't.
viability, to anything that does not sort of stand up to science and through the falsifiability, then obviously it's not going to be accepted.
Okay, so you're not. Okay. So based on that, you're not throwing away the whole Bible as a children's book. You're saying, hey, the portions that
I don't want to waste time on just Bible being a children's book or not.
No, forget about the children's book.
I think we're on actual central point here.
We can throw that in the garbage. We got to bring the children. But what I'm saying is that I don't think you reject the whole Bible, only the parts that can't be verified. Is that
I'm sure there's some historic facts in there. But how twisted they are, I do not know. Because they're not verified, they're not cross-checked. I mean, history.
Okay, simple. Okay, we have the records from the Babylonians of them deporting the Jews out of Israel and keep them captive in Babylon. They said they did that, and then when you look in the Bible, they say that's what happened to them. So you have verification there from both the people that.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, you can say that there's some historical facts in the Bible as there are some historical facts in other books. But where does that get you? That doesn't get you religion.
Well, okay, so if we're talking religion, you're now talking about the way of life and the codes people abide by. Now that's represented in how a person is living. So there's good and bad points to this. You know what I'm saying? I think religion is dependent on the person who wills it. Sure, there's people that join cults and everything, and they go away from their family. But then you have, and I'm pretty sure you've seen this story, people who live the life of crime and they're in and out of prison, and all of a sudden they pick up a Quran or a Bible, and now they're like law-abiding citizens because these two books inspired them or whatever, right? Like this is a thing that happens, right? So
I mean, that's a susceptibility of an individual. that's not going to be a sort of a marker for me by any stretch of imagination. I mean, I look at it as it is. I look at the anthropology of human evolution through, social evolution, that is, from the time that we were hunter-gatherers to today, and I can see how the code of conduct and the ethics have developed. Why do I need to sort of, source it through some supernatural?
So
I know exactly how the ethics, how the code of conduct and social contracts developed throughout the ages.
we don't even have to keep things supernatural. What I can say is that the process of religion did something to where you're now organizing morality. Now, hunter-gatherer days, it was kind of a free-for-all, okay? If, there's no set codes of anything, but at least with religion, whether this deity exists or not, a group of people said, hey, that's a bad thing, that's a good thing. And if you do this bad thing, there's kind of...
Allow me a couple of minutes, allow me a couple of minutes just to explain my perspective on this. At the time of hunter-gatherers, there was one guy who ruled, and he said everything that he wanted to say. He made all the laws and everything else. When we become city dwellers, not quite city dwellers, when we learn how to grow wheat, I don't actually, sorry, English is not my first language. That's why I struggle a little bit. When we started growing wheat and we kept animal, then what happened was that villagers couldn't move. We couldn't just take our land and go with us like we were nomadic prior to that. So what happened? Now we have a village here, it has a land, and we have another village next to us that has another land. They are growing their stuff, they have got their trees, their seeds, their animals. Now we have to come to some arrangement. We have a chief here and we have a chief there. We now have to come to some form of a compromise. Say, look, this is my land, this is my fruit tree, that's your fruit tree. This is my wife, that is your wife. This is my son, you don't kill my son, I don't kill your son. I mean, let's face it, when we have the 10 Commandments, these 10 Commandments, nobody is going to tell me that Moses brought these firsthand. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal. These were facts, these were rules, these were ethics, were already running in the society. He just rebranded it. That's all he did. So that's it. That part of it is very well easily understood and explained, how the code of conduct and ethics developed, until we have the 30 articles of the Charter of the Human Rights. This is nothing to do with religion. Religion has basically
that's kind of the two different things. I didn't say morality and ethics didn't exist before religion. I'm saying religion is the first to organize these things into a codified kind of thing.
I just told you how
they organized.
I just told you how they organized it.
But what I'm saying is, here's the thing. These farmers and all you're talking about, what did they use? They worship fertility goddesses and farming gods and say, hey, okay,
Let me explain to you just for 1 minute. Just explain to you how it is. Look, while you and I are talking here on a phone from 2 different continents, the closest species to us is the screaming in the trees. Now, there has been about 20 different homos between that species and us. It just happened that they've all been extinct and we have survived. Now, this has given us this illusion that we're actually something very special. We've come from something.
You're kind of changing what I was. Listen, this is why I'm saying.
No. Let me just finish this because it's quite important. This is going to tell you how that oldest religion came about. That's what I'm trying to get to.
You're arguing a different point from what I'm making.
No,
I'm not saying that religion is the
You're saying that religion organized the ethics. You're saying
No,
religion
listen,
organized
what I'm telling you is the oldest documents we have of do's and don'ts, humans putting down, look, these are the rules, and if you break this, this is going to happen. It's like the Hammurabi codes, the Code of Ernama. These are the oldest texts where you have do's and don'ts. And it's through a religious lens because Hammurabi felt he got these texts from Shamash and he told him what to do. So religion again organizes these things. I didn't say religion is at the start of morality, code, and ethics. I'm saying they took something that was already there and put it into books and organized it and made rules and laws and governments about it. That's what I'm saying.
What I'm saying is that was the necessity of the society. They had to do that. The fact that they came up with this other angle to it, which brought the religion into it, is because of what happened to us genetically. We got this frontal cortex, which gave us the power of imagination, interpolation, extrapolation, all the good things that we enjoy today, and we conjured up this concept that we have come from somewhere. Therefore, we must be ruled by some super being, supernatural. This is very, very obvious. Genetic mutation. When we became city dwellers, did you know that we actually had another major genetic mutation, which is called a new variant ASPM? You can search this if you like. ASPM is one of the key genes that resulted in the frontal cortex. Our brain, 400 grams, turned into about 1,400 grams. That has given us this illusion that we've come from somewhere. We're special species.
I think we're talking past each other. I'm telling you the shirt is blue, and you're explaining to me why the shirt is blue, right?
Yes.
Like I'm not telling you that the shirt isn't blue, or I'm not telling you those aren't the reasons why the shirt is blue. I'm saying, listen, that's a blue shirt, right? And I'm telling you, religion.
Let me ask you a question. If you walk into a shop and you see a piece of chocolate just by itself, and then one next to it with the Mars wrapper on it, you're likely to go for the Mars, aren't you? But that's what the religion has done. It's just put a wrapper on it. That's all it is. The essence inside it is what was developed through human anthropology in terms of our social gathering and coexistence. That's how it was developed.
Yeah, but rappers are shiny. I like rapper.
Can I ask you, Amir, are you an atheist?
Well, I'm not quite an atheist because I cannot prove that there is no God.
Okay.
Just as nobody can prove there is a God.
Well, an atheist is someone who doesn't believe in a God. So if you don't believe, you're an atheist.
Well, I would say it's an agnostic because an atheist will say that there is no God.
No, atheist. No. See, that's a different definition, right? So like,
Well, he can use that definition.
he can, however, I'm giving my 2 cents, right? Agnostic just means you don't have knowledge of something, right? Believing, whether you believe it or not, is where the atheist applies. Like someone says, do you believe in a God? And the atheist says, no, I don't. That's simple. Do you know that God exists? They can say, I don't know. They can be agnostic.
Well, then what's an atheist?
As a non-theist, and theist, I sort of associate that with religion, not necessarily God. So
a theist is someone who believes in a God that intervenes. Someone who is a deist believes in a God that does not intervene. So you can be a theist and not be religious.
Okay, so you're talking about the Spinoza type of God, okay? Well, I mean, I'm not really too fussed about how you look at it, but I don't believe in any religion, and I don't believe in a God that sort of rules anything. If there is a God in this universe, it certainly has nothing to do with this world and this species on this world, which is us.
Right on.
Okay. So is it just that? What is it? Do you have any reason to say that there is no God in the way that we understand God to be as being a monotheist? Like, are there any reasons for it?
I don't see any reason for a God to exist. I mean, if anyone does claim that God does exist, then the burden of proof is on them, surely.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this, and I'm glad Bob's here. What do you think about like arguments, particularly like the fine-tuning argument, or the existence of God? What's your response?
The fine-tuning argument is, let me give you an example for that. In Europe, we have a lottery which is about 50 to 1. So if you buy a single ticket of the lottery, your chances is 50 million to 1. But if you were to buy 50 million tickets, then you sure as hell are going to win the lottery. And that's the way I look at the fine tuning. So we've got something like 2 trillion galaxies. Each one of them has roughly about 500 billion stars. And each of those stars have around about, let's say, 10 planets. That gives you something like 10 to the power of 22 to the 23. Now, as far as we know, we've been listening for the past 100 years. There is complete silence in the universe, at least in our own galaxy. Therefore, we seem to be the only one at this level of intelligence. That means that we have, out of all these 10 to the power of 23, we seem to be roughly, at the moment, the only one who have got the lottery. Well, it's at the expense of such a vast failure everywhere else. That is the bit that you have to take into account when you think about the fine tuning.
Okay, very good. Bob, are you here? Hold on, just a second. Just a second, brother. Just a second, real quick. Bob, are you here?
What's up?
So there's 2 Amir in the room. I just want to shout out to, I appreciate going to come on stage, but it's kind of funny. We have 2 of them, both PhDs. But did you hear what Amir just said in response to the fine tuning?
No.
That's a bummer. Basically, so
Maybe you could repeat it.
yeah, could you just summarize that real quick? Bob is pretty familiar with the argument. Amir, do you mind summarizing it for him? Yeah, Bob meet Amir, Amir meet Bob.
Either Bob. Yeah, basically, the idea of fine tuning basically says it's a very accurate number. And what I'm saying is that the redundancy aspect of it has to be taken into account. So the fact that we as a species are on this planet here amongst 10 to the power of 23 other planets in the current universe as we know it in the observable universe means that we are at this level at the expense of. I'm giving an example of the lottery ticket, for example. If you buy all the combinations, you're definitely going to win the lottery.
But failure implies tombstone.
Well, let Bob respond to that. If you would.
Well, that sort of fine tuning is about permitting conditions that actually exist in the universe. I think fine tuning as an argument is more about there are a bunch of various constants and laws, and the range in which those numbers produce a universe where anything interesting happens seems to be very, very narrow. And the analogy to buying all the lottery tickets doesn't seem to hold up because we're not familiar. That makes sense if you're going for something like a multiverse explanation, but that's a kind of explanation that you then need to independent to each of us to buy. The idea was if there's one universe and we find that all these constants have very, very narrow ranges in which they produce any sort of useful or interesting interactions, that's the kind of surprising thing that the fine-tuning argument is targeting.
So what you're basically putting your arguments on a surprise? Is that what you're saying? Just because
it's about what kind of hypothesis best predicts this type of fine-tuning. The fine-tuning itself is something that physicists basically don't. They do agree on stuff like this, as if if the strong nuclear force was stronger, then atoms would just collapse into themselves, and if they were just a bit weaker, then we wouldn't have atoms at all, and so we wouldn't have stars.
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with fine-tuning, and I also know that out of the parameters such as Planck's constant or the speed of light and all these things that that are in the mix of making fine tuning. They have tolerances of about 10% or so. I mean, there are various physicists which will tell you exactly. I mean, I don't know it off the top of my head what percentage each one of these could change, and still it would be a viable universe. And then you also.
I don't think it's I'm not. From what I've read, it's nowhere near 10%.
Yes,
But even if it was, you have to take the conjunction of all of the values.
Yes, as I said, on some, I mean, I can dig out the papers and so on, but on some parameters there are. But
That's fine. If you're saying on some specific parameter, then that might be true. I'm just saying when you take the conjunction of all
I'm talking about Carroll's, he's a well-known guy. But I mean, don't forget, from the time of Richard Feynman to now, it's only two or three generations. I mean, we're only at the start of this, just because we don't know a lot of things. We don't need to jump on the god of gaps here. We just don't know.
It's not the god of the gaps.
It's
just about, no, it's not. The god of the gaps is like, we don't have an explanation for something, so let's fit God in.
So
fine-tuning is more something like, here are some various theories, and which of them explain the data better.
Yeah, but we don't have the explanation why there is such a fine-tuning. We don't have an explanation for that.
No, but that's what the fine-tuning argument is providing.
I know, but I mean,
just an explanation.
You mentioned it yourself. I mean, if you go down the string theory, for example, and parallel universes, you may have an explanation for that. Different sets of laws of physics, okay? But we're just one of many. I mean, that's one explanation. If you're looking for an explanation,
that's fine. I think
if you're looking for a surprise, then that's
not. But it's not about surprise. I'm fine with someone saying, hey, the multiverse kind of accounts for this, and that's fine. And then you'd have to evaluate, whether the multiverse hypothesis makes more sense than the theist hypothesis.
Well, I mean, come on, you're going to put a God in there? That is God of the gaps, right?
No.
Yeah, you understand that's, I mean, it seems like that you're saying you could never reason to the best explanation about anything if there's any bit of, if there's any uncertainty from the data to the conclusion, that you're always just going to say, well, that's putting the God in the gaps. And I don't think that that's correct. I think what Bob's saying is correct. It's just saying if you put down these different hypotheses, saying which one best explains the current data that we see, what makes more sense? And is it the case that this is intentional or unintentional, or some kind of theistic explanation versus some, random explanation or necessity or some other thing?
And I'm not a theist, by the way. Like, I don't believe in God. I just think it's helpful to have a common understanding of what the fine-tuning argument even is.
But there are so many different, as you know, there's so many different theories and their hypotheses, shall we say. I mean, Roger Penrose, for example, of this conformative cyclic universe is a pretty good one. He uses the Hawking's radiation. At the end of each one of these galaxies is going to radiate everything out, and all we end up in trillions of light years from now.
Yeah, but what data is the hypothesis explaining?
No, but I'm just about to tell you. So we end up with photons, nothing other than photons in the universe, in the entire universe, and that will collapse into a new origin. And that new origin may well be with the different sets of laws of physics. And there's nothing wrong with that model. So you can have a cyclic conformative universe.
I don't know what do you mean there's nothing wrong with the model? I'm just saying look, my idea isn't that you cannot propose a naturalistic explanation for fine-tuning. Like, I'm fine with giving any number of those, and what you just gave sounds like one-ish. I don't know what it means to say that there's no problem. Maybe you just mean that there's no inconsistency. I'm just saying it's helpful to be clear on what the fine-tuning argument even is. And then the methodology we should use to distinguish between different hypotheses that are trying to explain the data.
what I'm saying to you is that on the next conformative cycle, we may end up with a different fine tuning.
No, I understand.
Okay, so then you won't be able to call this one fine tuning because
No, yeah, of course. If that theory, but there's no saying if that universe produces any life. But I'm fine if that theory has like experimental and theoretical support. Then I'm fine saying, well, no, that's not. That might be.
I've looked at. I mean, take a look at.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm not saying that any part of this theory is wrong. Like, that's not my point. My point isn't to say here are the holes I poked in this particular model.
Your point is that you propose this fine tuning. That was your main point, and then you propose that perhaps there is a theistic approach to it as a solution to fine tuning. And what I'm saying to you is, on the next conformative cycle, this fine tuning will be different, or could be different.
If the model that is proposing this cycle is accurate,
if Bob is equally valid as your if of Caesar, surely.
I don't know. It's equally valid in terms of it explains it in some ways, but we don't just stop there.
Well, I think you do. I think this is the difference between you and I.
We obviously don't.
You stop at Caesar.
We are no. I don't stop. I'm not a theist.
Why did you?
I'm saying the explanatory. I'm saying that the explanatory power is one way of examining the virtues of a theory, but there are other ways of trying to examine it. Maybe your hypothesis.
But I think, sorry, just finish one sentence, please.
Yeah.
Maybe not you, but I think perhaps Andrew, the fact that he's got you and I talking to each other, he's probably thinking that there is a theist part to this which could explain the final.
No, he obviously does. No, he does. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you and I are on the same side. Andrew, do you have a problem with what we're saying?
I think the reason Andrew asked me wasn't to give like the theist kind of like, because I'm not one. The reason he probably asked me is that, hey, maybe this doesn't sound like a correct understanding of the fine-tuning argument, or this probably doesn't sound the correct way to engage with the fine-tuning argument. And I think that's why I was.
That's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Because look, so Amir, Bob is not a theist, okay? There's some misunderstanding, and I'm trying to clear that up with Marcus in the chat, and I have to discontinue it. Look,
I have to run, so I'll be back later.
Oh, that's too bad, Bob. Thank you, brother. Come back when you can, man.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, Amir, you sound Iranian, are you?
Yeah, how did you guess?
Your accent is clear, Dave.
It's Iranian, it's not Iranian. It's Iranian.
No, well, İran yastık. Well, it's an accepted pronunciation.
Iranian is
اسم العربية الناس مثلا مردم هست که عربی اسمشون نمیره ولی لهجه
کجا میتونی اینجوری فارسی صحبت کنی؟ جالبه برام.
Thank you. I'm Swedish, but I have my maternal grandmother is from Iran.
Good to meet you.
Well, good to meet you too.
Since
You just complimented my Farsi actors.
nice. Well, I was gonna say, since
Talk myself on the back a little bit.
right. Since you're Swedish, Bob, muchos gracias.
Thank you.
It's not a good one.
Andrew, that's fine, Andrew, but
I'll get my languages right one time. But at some point. But no, Amir, so here's the issue, okay? So I just think that there are a lot of atheists who have these positions that there's no evidence, there's zero evidence for God, okay? And those people, I think, are off. Now, I get it when they say things like, I just don't think it's compelling enough for me to believe. That's fine. I think that's more understandable. But when thank you, Piper.
Did say on or something?
No, but it was probably some cuss word or something. You probably shouldn't have said Piper.
No, cuss words.
All right. I don't want to hear like Teachy or any of these other words that people say. Okay. But Amir, the thing is I just think it's good for people to kind of be on generally the same level, at least insofar as they may not feel like certain arguments are compelling. That's fine, but there's some that seem to have, at least of the sharper atheists that I'm aware of, they seem to have some purchase with them. So, some people are going to find them to be a little more compelling than others, of course. We all have our own subjective assessment on how compelling something is, and we have different background beliefs. And, there's just different things that are going to raise or reduce the probability that an argument goes through, or, the particular premise holds, or whatever, okay? So I get that. But I don't think that the typical argumentation brought against the fine-tuning argument, like the refutation or the undercutters or whatever, I don't think that they've been super compelling, at least not to me. Now, I don't understand the fine-tuning inside and out by any means, but at least what I hear most people say, I hear a lot of things that don't make a lot of sense. And so if it were the case that you do have a good reputation of the fine-tuning, I think a person that is most adequately, or one of the more adequately equipped people to defend the argument is Bob, and he's not a theist. So it's just that he recognizes it's a decent argument for a theistic conclusion. And so that's why I wanted you to meet him. I do think it's a good argument, but I probably could not defend it near as good as Bob can. So that's just kind of the unusual situation that you're seeing there, is that Bob, being a non-theist, he's just good at defending the argument. It's also the same if you meet Sasha, if she shows up. I know Piper's like, I hope not. But if Sasha shows up, Sasha defends the psychophysical harmony argument. And I think she does a good job doing that as well, which in my estimation, I think that's one of the best arguments for theism around right now. I mean, in my eyes. I don't understand the argument super well, but insofar as I understand it, I think it just strikes me as theism is the best explanation for the data. If you haven't heard of that argument, I mean, maybe you will get a chance to engage somebody on it. Bob knows about it as well, but he had to leave. But it's kind of like the fine-tuning of the human instead of the universe. So if you haven't heard that argument, that's a good one. What's that?
I wish I had your command of English, Andrew. I'm very nice. As a kind of, I feel like a scientist, I look for justifiable evidence to accept just about anything and everything. So that's where I'm coming from, I guess.
Yeah, I understand that, and I get it. Very scientifically minded, probably very analytically minded, logical, reasonable. You want that, and I understand that. So, I'm trying. Insofar as I can move you towards theism, that's my agenda. I'm pretty straightforward about that. I am a Christian, and I want people to believe in Christ ultimately. So, if I can do anything to authentically, genuinely get you to move towards theism, then I would want to do that. So
you can if you can somehow make Jesus or Christ or God appear on the horizon tomorrow morning, then everyone could see us in the world, and they could just basically, hey guys, I'm here. Don't waste your time on anything else. I get up about 6:30 and I was about to go to bed. So I'm gonna get to bed, guys. So it's really good.
Amir, would you come back? Would you come back again sometime?
I'm sort of connected with you and Bob, and yeah, why not? Yeah, I enjoy this kind of discussion.
Appreciate it. Yeah, we have them pretty much daily. So if you watch them, open to a room, or you might see a friend, Converse contender. If you just watch us open a room, and I'm gonna try to add you as a friend as well. But yeah, feel free to come back anytime you'd like. I mean, we're here pretty much daily. So
That's good. Okay.
Appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate you.
You too. Take care.
Very cool.
Andrew, you're such a sweetheart.
Oh, thank you, Anna. It's good.
Only on Tuesdays,
What's up, my brother?
though, yeah.
Only on Tuesdays. Yeah, just get me on the PHI's floor and I'll turn into an animal. But no, I'm joking. What's up, Free? It's good to see you, bro. There's been some interesting discussions going on. For you had a picture, you took it down. Didn't you have like an STD picture earlier? I said something in the chat, and Chillism, I don't know if you saw it, but I was loving that picture. I was like, that is awesome, Free. Yeah, you guys got to see. You guys got to see this. This is like, Piper's probably not gonna like it very much. But I thought, yep, that's about what we're dealing with. Yeah. Come up here. I didn't know it was going to go there, so I was trying to be. It's weird because you're a little off easy. We know what trash time, man. Yeah. Because it's like you can't really talk to like you're talking to a bunch of people who just see the world extremely different. Just like talking to fish. I'm not trying to say it's insulting. I swear to God. Yeah. So and they feel the same way, vice versa. So I'm sad. I know it's a tough one. Yeah. So I'm not. Yeah. I live in space prior to this. Go ahead, read myself. No, you go ahead. Okay, yeah. I was speaking to some guys that they were saying about basically, free speech on the threat, and most of the show I was just trying to basically talk about things that I thought they would be familiar with. I wasn't sure and had no fucking idea what I was talking about. It's a big space too, huge space. I have no idea. It's like again, it's two entirely different worlds. And I don't know, but I don't think the university and so I don't know, bro, it's scary. But anyhow, racism leads to AIDS, apparently. But yeah. But Piper's probably one of, I love Piper. Piper's probably one of our most radical, shall we say, leftist wing or left-leaning people that we have around pretty routinely. Piper, with pink hair, mind you. But Piper, are you able to look at that picture and does that make, is that something you would be like, yeah, I support that? Like, do you think that that's a reasonable thing? Because I mean, if anybody can make sense,
I'm on club deck. It's really tiny.
Okay, well, I'll read. I can read it to you. It says must reads. It says STDs. This is in the Los Angeles Times. Must reads. STDs in women are skyrocketing, and then it says officials think racism and misogyny may be. Racism and misogyny may be to blame. Now, I thought if anybody can accept that as even, I haven't read it, I don't know what the content is or anything, but I thought if anybody can make sense of that, I'd be like, actually that sounds reasonable. I thought it might be, to me that sounds just insane, but I think, but I'm trying to be charitable and say, okay, well, maybe there is.
Well, I don't know if it's true. I mean, I don't really see what the priority basis for thinking it's the same as, but I don't know if it's true.
Well, I mean, it would be just like thinking, in what ways? Well, anyway, whatever. What do you think, Free? Why did you put that up? Like a reason? Sorry, I was trying to get myself together. I heard what I was saying. So I was because it seems that it's hard to draw a correlation between the two. Yeah, I mean, I that's what I was going to ask, to be sincere and all that stuff. And I don't know, man, I have to be brutally honest because no way to go around this. I don't mind engaging Piper. I just feel like he's not going to be truthful, and I want to. Piper, I want to ask you questions. I don't mean to try to demean you or shit like that. I sincerely want to know things. So I'm just curious to anybody for that matter. If you guys could draw a correlation between, STD rates increasing due to misogyny and racism, like I don't understand how that could possibly be a factor.
I mean, so like along the same lines as rates of racism and misogyny, that's measured, then boom, you got a correlation on them. It's a part. I mean, it doesn't matter. I'm not sure why I would think it's insane to suggest that, given that, I mean, clearly discrimination affects like the healthcare that people have access to. So, I mean, I don't know, that seems like a pretty common sense, reason. Like, it's not insane to suggest whether it's actually true.
Oh, okay, so all right, so someone decides to have sex, and to what you're saying, they don't have the appropriate health care, so therefore they can contract STDs due to racism not giving them appropriate health care. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's sure.
Actually, here, look, Free, Jose in the chat, I think he's quoting the article. It's like, or at least, see some response. So this is the connection, right? So, poverty or lack of opportunity may be forcing women to exchange sex for resources, leading to the spread of STDs. And then there also tends to be a mistrust of the medical system among African Americans, making them reluctant. Now, we have to see why that mistrust is there. But, presumably they might say, well, it's just due to the way African Americans have been treated historically in America and still are to some degree by many people's lights. Anyway, making them reluctant to seek care. Certain neighborhoods may be excluded from access to health care because of geography or finances, she said. So, there you go.
So that's well, the reason why this is illogical, because even if you don't trust the healthcare system, you definitely should trust the person you have sex with, because you don't know their status. So those two things again don't correlate or even causality. You can cause causation, because if I don't, that's fair, that's fine. But if I don't trust the system, then clearly I'm going to take more precaution because I don't want to go into the system. That's my logic. That would be logically consistent. Saying that, hey, I don't want to go to the hospital because they might fuck me up because I'm black or whatever, or they may not get appropriate care. So for the fact that I don't go to the hospital, I'm going to take extra precautions so I get sick. So that seems to,
Yeah, but it also means that when you get sick, you're not going to seek out care, right?
Right, but we're talking prior to being sick, we're talking precautionary thing.
But listen, if you're doing that habitually, it's going to weaken your immune system. If you don't have access to healthcare regularly, if, for instance, you're not going to checkups, right? You're not getting the best health advice. You're not a professional health advice. You're not being treated when you do develop other conditions that may weaken your immune system. Then yeah, I can see why it would lead to an increased rate of certain.
I could agree to the rate increasing too if you're doing these things, but then the racism part is still the thing that's kind of be tied in. So it's a lot of like a cluster of problems for me to kind of satisfy this claim. It's like, yeah, I get it. You want to make money because you have poverty, so sex sells, so you're doing that, and then you possibly contract an STD because of the work you're into, and that seems to be open to shut to me. But somehow racism get thrown into the mix, or misogyny get thrown into the mix.
Well, I think the idea is that women and people of color are put in that position because they don't have any other socioeconomic options as a result of discrimination. That's the
that's the difference. Yeah, I got you. I strongly, and again, I what you're saying, I hear it all the time. I strongly disagree because, clearly there's a lot of other options. I think people are taking what could be considered the easy road. Is a little skip job. You don't have to have anything just to be a person that I want to have sex with. And then you take the risk that comes along with the job, and then of course, it ends up being what it should be. So again, so if it happens to be more black woman or Hispanic woman in that space, I don't think that's due to racism. I think that's due to someone who prefers that option over getting the scale and using that to generate income, or just working.
The study that Jose is quoting, I guess the one that was being summed up in your picture, is saying that these women are actually doing this because they don't have other options.
No, I understand it, right. That's the thing though. Like they say, don't have other options, but I don't think it will allow you to follow because you have an option to get a skill to become productive. Like you could do hair, you could daycare. I mean, it's a lot of options. I didn't think like you follow.
When they went and studied the people in question, they found they didn't have other options. It's not logical.
Yeah, that's a claim that says someone don't have other options. That's hard to believe that someone don't have other options. You have to get a skill to get their money up and understood. Yeah,
I don't know. If a study says, okay, we looked at this pool of people, regardless of whether the sample representative or not, it tells you, okay, we observed in this pool of people, right, these characteristics, right, or these, socioeconomic opportunities. I don't see what the reason for distrusting it is other than I just have an intuition that this can't be so. But there's no reason.
Well, I think the reason because I think there's a linear of options you can do before you go down that road. I mean, keep in mind these people they can't do anything else. I mean, they have some type of disability, and their eventually disability will take care of them. Almost to some. But you're talking about a situation where a study would suggest such a thing, which I would ask the same question asking, or actually go further to say, what do you mean by they had no other option? What is that? Because it's really hard to say that someone has no other option. I mean, being a cashier, being an inventory worker, I mean, it's a lot of things that you
realize that jobs aren't just falling off trees.
Well, there's a lot of places I heard of. You still have an option besides to put yourself in a predicament. Because no, I agree. Yes, there's unemployment and there's employment. We both see that. But again, to do something as extreme as use your body as a pleasure tool for people who like to have STDs, whatever word you want to use, that's what you're doing. You're basically giving people pleasure for money to use your body that way. And you take the risk of getting STDs, and instead of saying, hey, this is probably not the best option because I can't live to draw my money, I'll have to get another expense, which is medical care now, because now I have the STD. So I didn't want to go to prevent STD, but now I have the STD, and now I have to go to the hospital. Now I have to take pills to get it. And if I don't do that, I become a vessel of spreading it to other people who take the same risk as me. So it's like, where does the accountability come into place?
As much of a hard time as you do swallowing the idea that somebody would be financially hard up enough to, feel pressure to sell sex for money. I'm not sure why that's like a crazy idea.
It's not a crazy idea. It's just not a wise idea. It's not a logical idea. That's the thing. It's not one. Yeah. So right. So no problem. It's fine. And just whatever. So clearly we see the outcome of these bad decisions that someone because if they saw them out of the way like I did, they would not have that STD. They could avoid it because it's avoidable.
If that's what's standing in the way of women having
participate. If you're catching and spreading STDs, then I think you're culpable for your decision making. I think you're accountable and not playing some abstract concept.
I understand, there are plenty of diseases that people get that their lifestyle has a bearing on. Probably, but the course
We'll see again. You said it about hard.
I don't know.
Yeah, you said it about high because again, all you guys think I'm stupid, and I agree with you. But I'm smart enough to at least know.
I didn't say anything about you being stupid.
I know I said a lot of guys think that. I know you didn't say it. That's perfectly fine. But at least I think I'm smart enough to say, hey, listen, I don't need to know everything about anything to say this is probably not a good option to sell my body this way to strangers who I don't know what they have and they don't know what I have.
What is the only way you can eat?
So again, if that's the only way you can eat, which is hard to believe, right? Which is hard to believe. That's perfectly fine. So let's know what you said.
What we're imagining here is I have to, engage in sex work in order to feed myself, right? And so what I'm going to do is every time I have clientele, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with them to the doctor, watch them get tested, and only engage in the transaction with them after that.
Or you can get an STD. Or you just take a risk and get an STD.
How realistic do you think that is?
Very, because other people do it. It's very realistic.
I think there's a lot of people
porn stars do it all the time. Yeah.
Well, no, porn stars don't do that individually. The company that they work for requires their workers to get tested.
Well, see, so there's plenty of porn stars who do have individual setups, and they do it. So yeah, they do.
No. You're talking about porn stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're not going out and marketing sex to a clientele, right? They're having sex with people they already know on camera.
No, not necessarily. No, they also have sex with strangers too.
Not necessarily, but that tends to be.
Again, but you're right. But regardless of that, the bottom line is take precaution.
Especially if conservatives like to talk about the coercive side of it. So what if I end up working for a pimp to feed myself, and the pimp doesn't give me this autonomy to check all my clients for STDs? It just seems like this is to me it seems like a wonderfully.
What I'm talking about, you're making it seem like actually I think the contrary.
People with financial resources.
No, not necessarily. No, sir. There's a lot of people who are poor, homeless. So you can make wise decisions to better your life without subjecting yourself to something.
What I'm telling you is just you are automatically classifying it as one, limited by the options you have available, and two, limited by your knowledge. And the reason people who are otherwise not idiots, right, get STDs is because not everybody is sex educated. Not everybody, I gotta be honest with you, most people who are doing survival sex work don't have the time and the resources to go and get a hospital to verify that every client, again, is, STD free, right? So great. And when you trust other people, sometimes it turns out to be trustworthy. like you're choosing to believe that nobody would ever be on the receiving end of adverse circumstances when clearly people are all the time.
No, I think, and we're disagreeing. I want to not get hyped because I know how you get sometimes, and I only get that way too. I get that way too. So, but the bottom line is that I feel like you're making this more complicated than it really should be. The reason being because there's plenty of nonprofit organizations that actually do free testing, free STD testing. Wow, now you're gonna start doing that. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to be fair. Let's just try to have a conversation. You know where you're going. Oh wow, I'm not being honest. I just want to have a good conversation, bro. That's what I was saying.
Okay.
I know, but I feel it building up. You act like I'm not familiar with it, but let's try to just get through this.
That's why I think it's being oversensitive. I haven't actually anything condescending or anything. I just told you.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just saying. I feel it coming.
Mic'd up, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah, okay. All right, Michael, let's get back to it. All right, so there's nonprofits that help people get tested, who needs to be tested, homeless people all the time, drug addicts, etc. That happens, right? Okay, so that's a free option that's there, okay? In those same organizations also give out condoms also. They do free sex education, they give out condoms. Okay, it's a lot of them. Some are conservative, some are liberals, they don't read outside. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they're cell phones too. You know, even poor people have cell phones. And I routinely go out here with the poor and homeless people.
And it's going to be a very equality depending on what state you're in, right? But because that exists and because there are also charities and because that's the
Well, no, the argument I'm making is, and I think this is the more options you have to know about a situation means that you're more responsible for the outcome of the situation. So if you knew that there was a chance of this, which many people do, I don't know anybody who wouldn't know that. I mean, it's hard to believe that somebody of an adult age would not know that.
Maybe there's some room for people to be undereducated. And so this assumption,
of course,
everybody should just be sufficiently educated to never get STDs.
See, you know that thing, Piper, that's not what I'm saying, strong man. Because you said everything. Maybe you're being hyperbolic and all that, but I'm saying there's enough information.
There are people who are undereducated about STDs.
When you say yes, technically yes, there is some people that's uneducated, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, do you think that would be a factor in them contracting STDs?
Yeah, for that individual, yes. However, I don't think that's the general, no, it's not right. I don't think that's the general norm. You're talking about certain people who may have a certain situation. It is, because we're talking about just for the rates. For the rates to occur the way they are, that would be potential general norm. If you're talking about isolated incidents, then yeah, I see that person may not know.
Increased rates of STDs and still the general population does not have STDs.
No. I'm saying it's very hard to believe as much awareness we have on this subject that the average adult doesn't know this. I mean, when I say average, probably maybe 80 to 90% doesn't know this. This is almost impossible to not know.
What is this?
From someone who's infected.
That's interesting. Why is that going to prevent anyone from contracting STDs as a result of ignorance? Not just enough for everybody to be aware that there's a risk of contracting.
No, that is a fallacy. No, some and enough are two different claims. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Because you're saying, let me explain. You're saying when I say some, that means it's enough. No. There's good, like, again, if you want to be technical, there's only some who don't know a certain amount of information. Like, that's just a given. That's why it's a bad question to ask. Like, hey, do you believe that some people don't know anything about, like, there's some people that don't know Donald Trump is president of the United States? Like, technically, yeah, there's. That's fine. That's pretty fine. Other people may understand. I'm gonna still say though, there's some people who may not know Trump is the president of the United States. I mean, technically speaking, there is some. But generally speaking, people know that. People know that Trump is the president of the United States. The same logic goes with
but you understand that people can be aware that STDs are a thing and still contract them as a result.
Of course, yes. Which goes to yes. Right. Which goes to the next point I was going to make. The next point is people do know, as I said before, and they still take the risk. And it's not due to racism or misogyny. It's because they wanted the money or the pleasure or whatever came with it. And that's why they contracted it like it. There have to be black old woman or some shit like that because they wanted to get the money.
I'm just trying to establish whether you think that there are people who contract STDs because they're not educated in sexual health.
So we already said we already established that. We said technically yes, absolutely. That's not the issue.
The technical modifier is doing, right?
Because we said some.
That's not the same as not knowing Donald Trump is the president of the United States, right?
It is a analogy.
Well, no, it's not. Sexual health, right? It's a complicated matter, right? And no matter how educated you think you are on it, specialists in that area, medical medical specialist in that area. They know way more about it than you do, and your ignorance on the matter might even lead to you contracting an STD at some point in your life. Despite the fact that you think you're an educated, responsible adult, right? So the point that I'm making to you is it's not like fucking insane to imagine that somebody who isn't a complete negligent idiot would contract an STD because they're not educated in sexual health.
So it is, and here's the thing you keep doing is very, I don't know what you just said. So the bottom line is, when you say, that some people, what you're doing is creating a premise to build off that idea that there's a fringe, what I believe is still a fringe, minority of people who technically are not educated enough on the subject and will be victims of STDs due to their lack of understanding. That's the given in pretty much almost any category.
Well, that's an empirical claim, right? So do you want to go look it up together?
No, I just like to make a point.
Why is that?
My brother, let me finish my point. Come on.
Okay, after you finish your point,
No, it's not necessary.
why is it not necessary?
It's not necessary to no, it has nothing to do with it. If you think there's something wrong, then you should. You can do that if you want to, Michael. Feel free. I won't stop you.
You're not interested in checking your worldview.
Because it has whatever the fuck microorganisms, all this stuff. We don't care. Skip you whatever. The point is, we know enough to know how STDs transfer for the great deal, right? And it starts with just having sex. Okay? STDs transfer through sex. And the more you do it, the more risk you take. And the more you do it without protections or precautions and knowledge of what you have versus the person have, increases that risk. Fundamentally sound.
Okay, so the only reason that somebody was aware of that, I mean, first of all, I'm not even really sure why we need to continue since you already did. You don't hear about whether what you said is true. But, like, I'll just pretend that I'm talking to somebody who actually cares about the truth.
That's right. That's right.
So, you don't think that there's anybody who understands, like, the 5th grade facts you just.
Oh, I know you want to answer. I thought you better try to go see answer the question here.
Well, yeah, I'm pretending that you care about the truth, right? So,
Oh, I know you're going to get it. Go ahead.
In the game of pretend, right? So, is it really the case that you think that, just knowing those 5th grade facts, right, will make it so, will make it so that you never contract STD through no fault of your own? Is that really the belief?
That's a possibility. It works for me.
I mean, that's not an answer to the question.
I just did. I said it's a possibility. It works for me. That's a direct answer to the
Question
question.
is about possibility. I'm just asking you whether you think that's the case.
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah. I think generally speaking, people know where that, yeah. So generally, yes.
All right. I mean, it just seems really naive. I don't know, dude.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, that's how you feel. And I think, in no offense, I feel the same
Well,
way
I think my feelings are justified by the fact that you're talking about, like, diseases.
I feel the same about my
The way that diseases work is, sometimes even though you're a healthy person who makes good decisions, you contract them.
Of course. Right, that's true. But we're talking about STDs.
Right, so what you just said is a silly thing to say.
No, you said diseases. You said diseases in general. I'm talking about STDs. So again, like if I contract
all diseases, it's an issue of being a smart, responsible individual, right? So
boy.
when you said it was just that, you were wrong.
And I never said it was just
that.
No, I never said that.
Literally, I asked you
I literally did.
that, and you literally said yes, you were.
No, see, again, the issues are wrong. So again,
What you said, I said continue. Good job.
so see, this is what I'm talking about. You can't have a conversation with Piper. Piper can't control himself. Right, that's what it is, right? Right, that's what it is, Piper. Piper the big bad wolf. Yes.
It's like a big bad wolf. I think a 5th grader should call you on it. You still get upset, and start talking.
Right. Yes,
Maybe I can step in.
Really pissed. Oh, absolutely. Take it. I'm 8 feet of shit out of me. I'm tired. I can take it.
Well, I was more so looking to rectify between the two of you.
Okay, sure. I mean, go ahead. Shoot.
So, Free, what do you believe? Piper, what do you believe? What do we all?
Are you just hopping in? Are you trying? Are you guys supposed to just arguing like opposition?
You want to know what's going on, right? If you want to hear me.
What's up, Piper?
Okay.
We're trying to see what you're asking. Are you asking us our positions and argument?
Yeah.
Like trying to get caught up?
You guys are shouting at each other, so I'm trying to understand why.
I was shouting at Piper. didn't think I was doing it. I was, wow, oh shit. I guess you really have every show.
You went a couple of decibels above normal conversational tone.
Oh wow. Okay. Fair enough for me. I didn't think so, but fine. So my position was, if you look at my PTR, there's a claim that STDs are going up due to, in women particularly, due to racism and misogyny. And I'll speak for myself. I would say it's pretty much a bullshit article because logically, those two things have nothing to do with it. Now, basically, it said, if you read the article, somebody posted it just a second ago, they was insinuating that, because people have low income due to, them being black and stuff. Yeah, so that's what.
Hyper-majority correct.
Yeah, so that's what.
Hyper-majority correct.
Oh, wow. Alrighty, well, there's no need to have a conversation with you. So I literally didn't say that, but of course, Piper will believe what Piper believes. I did not say that. I did not. I was going to say he was trying to address something that had nothing to do with the conversation.
Vastly refusing to go with the actual numbers on it, which is what you did.
Because it's not relevant.
Yeah, 3 people.
Of course it's relevant.
No. See again, you're trying to nothing to do with the conversation, but okay. You guys are funny.
I mean,
Well, you might want to ask Piper now.
it happened back to the conversation.
It's wow. So okay, I didn't know I was doing this. No, we did. That's right. No, sir, we're not.
Why not?
We're not.
What ended the conversation then?
Your question.
Why? I mean, I'll tell you. I have a 5.6. Very average factor.
May I interrupt? I think what Piper was on about was that education or sex education is a privilege and not many have access to it, and it's not okay for me to judge people based on their sexual activity, and even sexually inactive individuals can be affected by STDs. Okay, and now when you're asking for free ranges, penis size might suggest that maybe free is not too confident in his sexuality.
Agreed.
But I think I don't like the term this is taking, because while Piper is fairly correct, I think a sex positive society might have other implications where humans are reduced to beings that have nothing much to do than to freely, and this isn't about implications alone that Free was talking about. I feel like while Piper, I don't know, Piper, what's your real name, Piper? We'll start there.
Social security, why did I do it?
It's Piper. Is it Piper?
Wait, can we get Andrew on today?
I mean, there's an order of things. I will at least ask them for their name before I ask them for their penis size.
Man, Andrew.
See free.
No,
Yes, indeed.
Freaky, what's wrong? Do we need to talk about penis a little more? What's going on?
Well, actually, Andrew, I started this conversation.
I know, Ray, I have no doubt you have more babies at 10 months.
Well, Andrew, look at my body fat percentage, actually.
Yeah, I know. I have friends who used to run 2 miles at least. I think I 3 or 4 times. Like, yeah.
I love how Ray looks for every opportunity to talk about his body fat percentage.
Yeah.
The point was contemplation, right? Like his penis is like less than 6 inches. I mean,
No, I was not referring. No, Andrew, can we just? I don't know your interest in your body parts, especially the penis, kind of hurts me. Can we move past this? Because I did not start the conversation, Andrew.
I just want to
I did not start the conversation, Andrew.
Membership.
stop it.
They didn't start the fire. It's always
was trying to, it's kind of losing its punch, but Deepak, you're probably not of the particular membership that should be commenting on team side. So that's all I was going to say. All right, moving on.
What we can do is we can walk into 7-Eleven together, right? And we'll be like,
Well, you know why? Because you own it. Oh.
Okay, who's looking at the stop? This is actually an example. If I can get to my point of view, but I see what's going on in this, that was funny.
See, that is correct. That is correct. Thank you. And so that's the thing. And if Deepak was he had expressed that, I would definitely back off. And that's the whole point. And I do hope people can realize that. I know that you're also
You're just that's completely
Very unexpected.
it's very anti-Semitic.
I'm just surprised when I click Anna's bio, it says follower of Jesus Christ, the true Son of God, and then she just laughs very loudly at
Oh, shit,
anti-Semitic.
be quiet. Anti-Semitic. And first of all, here's the thing. You know what's weird? This is what I won't do. Is that you look, is that Christian, here's what's happened.
also
Andrew's looking for a date.
Well, hold on, let me just say this. SJWs and people that are very much on the left, it's like the worst possible sin in the world. It's not like, believe it or not, it's not even like pedophilia or anything like that. The worst thing that you can do is be a racist, or if you're a fascist, which they don't even know how to define that, most of them. But that's literally like the two like bigger considerations, like something that really is like, man, we really should figure out what's going on with this life in the womb. You know, we should really think about like, you know, I don't know, we should really think about this like, it's complete value like change to where like the two largest sins that you can possibly do are fascism. If you're going to be a fascist or you're going to be a racist. And so to me, it's like, look, I see a full room, and I want you to see this, Deepak. I want to show you this comedian. He's a little known, lesser known Jim. Okay? But basically, he has a room full of his shows. You know, black people, Mexicans, all kinds of people, right? And he is just continually dropping like just racial jokes left and right. Everybody's laughing. And to me, I thought this is awesome because tearing down every wall and barrier. He makes fun of himself. He makes fun of white people all the time. And it's actually funny, like actually funny. And I'm telling you,
you're not talking about Russell Peters, are you?
I have never heard of Russell Peters, but I'm right now.
Oh, check him out. That's most of what he does. Yeah, no, I have got.
Wait, Andrew, are you ever tired of picking a
Oh, he's a comedian.
Well, one
Not Russell Brand. He said Russell
Brand.
Russell Brand. Russell Peters.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
I love Russell Peters.
You like to pick a subset of fringe subset of the left and then say, look at these practices of this fringe subset. I'm tired of
You
it.
just actually brought it up. You actually
Should we do? You actually conservatives
laugh at racial jokes. It's like, come on, bro.
Sure. I mean, clearly a joke. If we did the same with conservatives, I would be pretty worried about the fringe people on the right. And
Crazy.
I agree.
I'm going to address something real quick.
You guys sound like my truck trying to start.
That's right. I really don't undress it.
So, and for those making fun of me, I'm recovering from influenza A and still going to the gym here all on Clubhouse tonight.
Oh, it sounds more like a stutter and/or.
Graham, you've been sexually attracted to me ever since I joined this app. Please stop.
I've never been sexually attracted to you.
Anyway, so before I joined
I'll shit on you first.
Whoa. Andrew, before I joined the room, free and we were debating. It was tense. No one was having a good time, and they were just fighting one-on-one. I joined the room. Everyone starts laughing. Everyone has a good time. Everyone is participating. There are women on
Everyone,
stage. Everyone. And yet, Andrew, I do not have a green bean.
Why is it that, like, time
exactly.
that you all get, like, let loose, drink alcohol, start going?
Shut up. Fuck. What was the debate about? Sorry.
Here we go. Round two.
Well, he moderated the Jew. He actually, he said, don't ever make him mod, and I think we should take that to heart.
You really should.
Okay. Well, just to be clear, what were you talking about, Free? Go ahead.
Yeah, I know the last thing what the debate was about, something about my PTR, so I was going to give a quick recap. So, as you read my PTR, is alleges that racism and misogyny is the leading cause of the rise I see D-race and women with a zone black and white according to the idea of racism. And my position was that doesn't seem to be rational. It's hard to correlate the two. He saw that to be reasonable, and I believe it's a stretch to try to make that work. So my position was that it's likely due to negligence and bad decision making. He said it's due to those two factors, likely. So you try to understand the proposed mechanism. I mean,
well, that's the most boring fucking conversation I could ever have.
Well, it's lucky you don't have to hear it now. It's over.
So I want to address something that Preeti said because I'm offended, and I want to just put it out there. She attacked I know I tell you okay, but Deepak operated. You attacked me as well, and I thought you were my brown brother. Operating with 5.6 inches. I have 5.6. I'm proud of 5.6.
Yeah, call my number. You would have it. I'll be the new intern if you call me.
I believe the average in the United States is around 5'2" to 5'5". So can someone tell me that 5'6" is not sufficient?
It is. I mean, like, usually it's about, look, in the interest of conversation here, I would just like to point out it is no longer considered impolite to ask for penis size. We just look at it as another body part. I think over-sexualization of penis or the ureter is what is giving.
Why are we back on penis?
I think, honestly, if you have a small penis, you have to have a good personality.
That's agreed. Honey, come on up here.
I think that's why they go to the gym.
We've got I'm gonna have to start.
Hey, guy, I'm gonna start smoking.
I'm gonna start putting in the room DJ because we've got excess degeneration going on. Go ahead, Will.
I was gonna say, Ray, Andrew's not a physicalist.
Okay, so Preeti did bring up a good point.
So it's not another penis thing.
It was definitely a penis thing for sure.
I think it was.
Andrew's got a small penis.
Free your side.
No, we're not that kind of people.
Andrew does not want to talk about his penis size. Everybody take
Well, I don't mind talking about penis, but I just think it's not appropriate to be doing it in a room full of a bunch of people. So I can. Well, first of all,
revelations.
First of all, JCC, hold on.
No one is against this.
So, well, you can say that, but I'm not here to talk about penises with all you guys. Like, if you want to do that, go to a different
See,
room.
this sounds like a you problem.
But that's fine, but then you can go to a different room.
Well, Andrew, aren't you a content generating machine? I'm generating content.
Yeah, but that's why I told you you're wrong, right? So that's not actually my goal. I don't really to generate content. Hold on, wait, no, Ray, just chill out. If we wanted to generate content, there's plenty of other things that we could talk about that I could generate, but we don't want to do that. I'm trying to do a specific thing, and yes, I'm trying to do a specific thing, and so if you guys want to be part of that, cool. If you don't want to, you don't have to be here. I'm not going to twist your arm. I'm glad you're here, but we're not going to just make this about degeneracy. That's not my goal.
Well, Andrew, you have a really good personality, which is thankful. If you had like a small penis and a bad personality, it would be awful.
I appreciate that.
You would be able to.
Thank you.
One thing people don't appreciate is how much harder content generation becomes as you get older.
Thank you for that, Deepak. So I think.
Just throw my number out there.
Let me find a proverb here though.
You gotta focus on quality rather than quantity.
Like pretending is like purpose for being in these rooms is besides just like race baiting.
His dad tried
watching people fight each other.
Yeah. So here's what's
Who let Greg up on stage?
hold on just a second. Yeah. So 6:20. I just want to read this to you guys because this will be good for this situation.
Greg is just an awful person. Why would you?
Yeah. So without wood, a fire goes out. Without gossip, a quarrel dies down. Now, obviously, that's just speaking of gossip. There are some other things as well. But it is true that there's several proverbs with this situation. Yes, like there's you guys are like this. Only by pride comes contention. Only by pride comes contention. That's a proverb. Now you guys might disagree with that. That's fine. I actually don't. I think that's correct. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. That's pretty much the root of it is pride. So I just don't want to see like so much degeneracy that the people that are going to be in here that are here to talk about theism or the case for God or against God don't want to be in here. Like, and that definitely happens. People come in who are Christians and they're like, what kind of room is that? They think that we're running just an atheist jungle gym. And I don't want to be accused of that constantly. And because to some degree I feel convicted about that. It's like, well, we can't do that we just can't keep doing that. We can't just have a room full of degenerates.
Andrew, you literally let some of the most degenerate, criminal, disgusting people on stage.
Yeah, letting them on stage.
All these laws and all the time.
Hold on. So let me just go ahead and play. I'm going to have to move you down, Greg, if you don't chill out a second. So here's the point. Being around somebody that has the worst history you can imagine, not the issue. If Hitler came in here, come up on stage, let's have a combo. There's a difference having somebody on stage who has a history of doing X, okay, versus allowing them to dictate how the conversation's going to go. And that is a much different thing. So I'm quite fine with people coming up that has all kinds of backgrounds, and we're very lax. Obviously, people get into all kinds of stuff. I don't care what your religion background is, your sexual orientation, what your political views are. Come on.
And if you are Hitler, he will be defended.
Yeah, no, I didn't say defended. But the point is that it allowing them to dictate or control the narrative and then try to guide the direction to serve their evil means, that's not going to happen. People can definitely defend their positions, though. And that's totally cool.
You should condemn egregious people like Hitler.
I didn't say condemn them. I said
no, you should condemn them. Is what I'm saying.
No, I think
yesterday Andrew was saying that Hitler was loving. So that's that.
Yeah.
He goes to like.
Can I get something straight? You said, hey,
Ray, when it comes to you, I don't think anything straight. But go ahead. Let him go.
Andrew, the amount of times you threatened to spank me personally and spank other men on stage is quite concerning.
So let me deal with the spanking thing. Hold on, we gotta do this. Okay, so sorry, let me just address this. So here's the point. So the scripture says in various places that if you discipline a child with the rod, it will not kill them, but it'll save them from hell. Okay, now you can, go however you want to take that, it's fine. Now look, I'm not your father, but like I tell Honey, I'll be your daddy, and you can come lay over my knee, and I'll swat the fish out of your body.
I hate to be your daddy.
Now, hold on. He wants to turn that sexual.
I mean, you just said you'll be my daddy.
That's correct.
And you were going to put your hand on his mom.
Because, no, I didn't say that. But what I did say is that I discipline you. And here's the thing. It's good to be disciplined. That's a moral thing. Now, you can turn that into some kind of sexual thing if you want to. You're going to be a weirdo. But you might just be like, well, yeah, it's strange that an adult want to spank somebody, but look, I don't want to do it either. But a lot of
You don't want to do it, but you're going to put your hand on his belt.
But a lot of people know. I mean, if I need to use a belt, I will. If I need to use it.
Oh, kinky.
Yeah. So look, if you are degen minded, then yeah, you'll probably go to degenerate understanding of that. But if you're like, look, people get spanked. People get spanked. Who's muting me? Who's that? Is that you, Mel? Do I need to move you down?
It's me. I did it, Andrew. I did it.
Okay, I moved him down. I moved the Jew down because he's.
Why? He didn't even do that.
No, somebody muted me. I'm bring back up. Miller said not to give him mods. So great, but you very contrarian, very contentious.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Andrew. I don't know why you just.
I know. I'm sorry, no, but yeah, I took your own.
Your advice or something. What is this?
No, I know. Say, what is this?
I was just gonna say, like, I was trying to make room for myself to talk, and just say that, like, who else in the room thinks Andrew talks too much?
Yeah, Millet. I'm gonna get some license for that, but Millet, you know what? I want the Jews to always take precedence over everything as they do. So go ahead and take the reins for a minute, buddy. Wherever you want to go. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, Ray, you're a physicalist, right?
Of course.
Okay, what's your answer to this argument? Propositions aren't physical and they aren't mental. Therefore, there exists a third type of thing, which is neither physical nor mental.
I think the syllogism is a little incomplete. Like propositions exist, maybe is an extra primitive.
Propositions exist?
Well, propositions are just abstract.
When you say abstract, what does that mean? You mean like an abstract object?
Yeah, they're like it's like the concept of a circle. Like circles don't physics. I'm not going to speak in absolutes, but I'm going to lean towards that. Like mathematical concepts like circles are.
Right, but propositions are epistemically open.
And
they can't be thought.
Andrew thinking is abused, by the way.
I'm going to say something like the physicalists would argue that propositions are real patterns instantiated in physical substrate.
Wait, what? You think propositions are physical?
Yeah, like a proposition like snow is white exists as a pattern, realized in like neural states, symbolic symbols on a page, sound waves in speech, etc.
Propositions can't be physical though, because physical things are non-intentional, and propositions are inherently intentional.
But they're instantiated in physical substrates. They're not one-to-one with physical things.
What? Like, the point is that, like, propositions have to have a subject, right, to be a proposition. Like, the proposition has to be about something, right?
Yeah, I'm just going to stay unmuted. Yeah, sure.
Right. So, like, you know, my chair isn't about anything.
Sure.
There's no physical things that are, like, inherently intentional in the way that, like, propositions are. So, like, propositions are, it's very unlikely that propositions are a physical thing.
Okay, I wouldn't claim it. I guess I don't really know what a physical thing is here.
Okay, so broadly, people will, like, break things into two categories, right? Like, they'll say there'll be physical things, like your body and your, like, desk and your dresser, right? And there are mental things, however you want to cash out mental things. Some people think mental things just, like, redounds to physical things, right? Okay. But, like, so those are the two broad categories that people think things exist in. Like, there's physical stuff, and then there's, like, you know, mental stuff, and whether or not mental is physical is, like, a different question. Right? Right. So, there's no physical thing that, like, we've ever come across that has, like, as it's, like, a physical thing that has, like, the type of intentionality that's, like, you know, available, or, sorry, is necessary for propositions. Right, so like propositions, as I was saying before, like the proposition has two component parts, like broadly, right? It has a subject and it has a predicate. So like
the proposition, the sky is blue, right? The subject of that proposition is the sky, right? And the predicate is blue, right? The proposition can't exist unless it's about something, right? Unless it's about something that's like not itself. Like you can have like a recursive proposition that's about, well, not all mental things, but thoughts, true thoughts. You can't have a thought, right? That's not like directed at something. You can't have a thought that doesn't have a subject, right? But physical things aren't like that.
I'm not. So what is this intentionality point you're trying to make? Like, what does it conclude? And let me just like temporarily agree with you that propositions are intentional.
Well, they are intentional in the way that I'm like talking about intentional here.
Right. So then what would you conclude? And like you're saying things that are physical. It's an interesting framing. I mean, can't I say a chair is about a chair? I don't think thoughts are about things. I think we say they're about things. But if you actually measure the sodium signal interaction between like two synapses, I think you just see electricity and you just see charge and you just see the movement of particles. I don't think you have aboutness actually in the fundamental physical world.
Well, that's interesting. So like, he's just like I don't know, like some sort of like fictionalist about like things like propositions.
I think so. Like, because like, and this is like empirically proven that
you can see the physical correlating of a thought. Whether or not that is thought is a different question. But yeah,
right.
Fair.
Yeah, we don't know that yet. That's unsolved. But like, we can see physical movement is like physical entities that are correlated with specific thoughts. If we just isolate those physical entities, and I understand they're not like the totality of the thought, that you can't say like what you're observing in that machine is about anything. Or I don't think it would make sense in that instance to say it's about like that's rendered down later by the brain, by the Homo sapien brain as they process later. So I don't really know if there is significance in calling out intentionality.
I think that's fine if you're just going to take like some sort of like fictionalist view about all this stuff, right? If you're just going to say like thoughts are fictional, propositions are fictional, anything that like presumably has any type of intentionality is fictional. That's fine. You're going to have to explain a lot of features about the world that like seem like very strange if those exist. Like, okay, if I asked everyone in the room to think about the proposition the sky is blue, our thoughts would be directed at something.
Yeah, because
it's itself the proposition. Right? So like,
yeah.
So it's like this that thing with, right?
Yeah.
We all have our own mental constructs about thinking about the proposition, right?
Right.
But we don't have access to each other's mental constructs.
I mean,
so what is it that we're all thinking about in common? Right?
Yes.
What are all of our thoughts directed at that's in common, right? Between all of our thoughts, such that they have the same content.
Yeah, I don't think it's that hard to reason out in that blue is a specific wavelength. The color blue is a specific wavelength. We all have visual cortices in our brain. We also have hippocampuses that store memory, or that process like short-term memory and then store them somewhere else. When we say the sky is blue, we're all talking about we could here. The physical interaction that our retinas and cones at some point or millions of times have had with the wavelength that is emitting from the nitrogen and the oxygen in the air reflecting off of, I don't remember why the sky is blue, reflects off the ocean or something, or I don't remember exactly why, but nitrogen, oxygen interaction with the retinas and cones, we get specific wavelength information, our brain, our visual cortex processes it. This whole set of physical chemical interactions is then stored in our memory. Physically, it's stored. Some type of representation in the hippocampus, and then we're referencing that representation and using our vocal cords to reference it. That's like what the proposition is about. So it's all physical, right? Maybe a more simple example is if I put 3 balls in a room and tell Mel to step in the room. I tell Preeti to step in the room. I tell Andrew to step in the room. We can all share after a dialogue with the proposition. There are 3 balls in the room. And you're going to say, okay, that proposition is about something. It was about those 3 balls. Like, that proposition is non-physical. I'd say no, like what we're talking about is the chemical interaction that just occurred in all of our brains. And we're using our vocal cords, physical things, to reference the physical chemical interaction that just happened with those balls, with the bending of the light in the air around those balls, etc.
Yeah, but the 3 balls is like a perfect example, right? That like, okay, so we walk into a room and there's 3 balls there, right? Like, we can all have access to those 3 balls, right? Because they're like a physical thing. And they're like what's called epistemically open, right? Which means like we can all have access to it, right? So like we can walk into a room and you can point at the 3 balls and I can see the 3 balls and like the other person with us and another person with us, they can all see the 3 balls, right? And then we can all make our own mental representation of the 3 balls, right? Is that fair? Like, are you with me so far? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like a feature of physical things, is that they have this epistemic openness, that they're available to other, from mind to mind, right? We can all look at the ball and all create our own image of it, right? Mental things aren't like that. They don't have that feature, right? Because I don't have access to your thoughts, right? Now, it's either the case that all of our mental representations, right, of the sky's blue are different from one another, right? Or they're all directed towards the same thing, like the ball in the room, right? So like, imagine we walked into a room, right, and there was no ball. And I said, like, imagine a ball there, right? We would all have different mental representations of what that ball looked like, its size, its shape, its color, everything, right? So like the case that, like the first case, where there actually is 3 balls in the room, right? That is to say that, like, we all are going to understand the same basic, like, substance of the proposition or whatever, right? That's not the case if you're just thinking about the empty room, where there's just, like, someone walks in and says, like, okay, picture a ball, right? Because everyone's balls are going to be different in their heads. And we don't have a way to share with each other what our mental image of the ball is. So we're going to be essentially talking about different balls. Does that make sense?
You went on for a little bit too long, and like, so are you saying how are we able, if there isn't like a physical thing to talk about, and instead we just discuss propositions, how are we even able to discuss propositions that are all pointing towards something if these propositions don't actually physically?
No, what I'm saying is that, like, how is there consistent content, right, across all of the people that think about the same proposition, right? If in fact all there is to the world is just physical things and mental things, right? Like, if it's just the case that, right, each person's like mental construct of the proposition is similar to each person's mental construct of the ball they're imagining, right? Then there's no way that we could, like, you know, assure that, like, we're actually conceiving the same thing when we're talking to each other, right? Because there's no physical thing in the room that we can point at and say, like, that's the thing we're talking about.
Okay,
Does that make any sense?
Somewhat.
Right, so the point is, it doesn't seem like propositions are physical, right? Because physical things have this quality about them, which is like epistemic openness, right? We can all look at the same ball, and we can all have like the same rough picture in our heads when we look at it, right? That's not a feature of propositions. So all physical things are epistemically open. Propositions are not epistemically open, right? So propositions are not epistemically. Whoa. Let me stop for a second. I'm going to confuse myself there for a second. We all have like okay. Physical things are epistemically open, right? They're available to everyone, right? Mental things aren't epistemically open, right? Sorry, keep going. I just got my train of thought back. So mental things are intentional, right? But not open to everyone. Physical things are not intentional, but open to everyone. Propositions are both. They're open to everyone and they're intentional. So they can't be either mental things or physical things.
I had ChatGPT solve this for us. It actually gave quite a good analogy. The key resolution here is you compare different levels of description. The resolution is not propositions are secretly physical, but epistemic openness tracks ontology only within a level of description, not across levels. So the core move here is propositions are not objects at the same explanatory level as electrons or chairs. They are rules, contents, invariants of physical realization. And invariants are epistemically closed by definition. Here's a good analogy. And do you know what quicksort is, the computer science algorithm?
No. Yeah, you can do that.
An algorithm itself is epistemically closed, unspecified, right? The algorithm has no mass, no temperature, no charge. It cannot surprise you as an algorithm. Yet, every implementation of said algorithm is epistemically open. Cache effects, timing, energy usage, it's actually going to sit on some silicon chips, etc. So it's the same with proposition. The level of thing and the epistemic status correlating to mapping to that level is different. So things like neurons, things like chairs, things like electricity are epistemically open. Belief states, representations are semi-open. Semantic things like propositions are closed. So this is again just a feature of abstraction, not knowledge.
Yeah, like you're just. So we kind of went through this before. I have to walk by that again, but like so, yeah. Basically, what you're saying there, right, is that what ChatGPT is saying there to you is that like you're a fictionalist, right? Like you think these things are like fictions that are like like convenient fictions that are like ways that we talk about the world or ways that we like make things easier for ourselves. Does that make sense? That's like
I'm not sure. Suggesting fictions and abstractions the same thing because it's mapping to something real. But it's the level by which you're talking about.
Okay.
Like abstraction, the term abstraction leaves open the possibility that the abstract entity might actually exist, right? Like a
that's part of it. But like I kind of agree, meaning like abstraction is like you have a map, right? And a map is like an abstraction from the terrain. Right, like
that's really more than just excite the philosophically precise stuff would be just like fiction rather than abstraction. Because abstraction usually can encompass like Platonic objects and stuff.
Right. The point is that like it seems like you're saying something like, if you look at the fundamental ontology of the world, if you look at the fundamental things, right, there is no things that are going to be like what propositions are, right? But if you look at like a different level of abstraction or whatever, right, if you like, just talk about like linguistic things or whatever, that's the level of abstraction you're working at, then like you have this useful fiction, this thing called a proposition that allows us to like, do some work with it or allows us to communicate better with each other or have some use, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Deepak, I'm taking my dog out. What do you think about that?
About time.
What do you think about Ray's comment?
So, Lilith, are you not a physicist?
I don't think so.
Like, you think like spooky things are floating around in the universe? Like, whoa, I just ran into a circle.
Well, I think it's plausible that Platonic objects exist. I think it's plausible that thoughts exist.
Insane.
And like thoughts that like are supervening on physical things, but like are not themselves physical.
A gentle reminder, Lilith, that you are an egg cell that fertilizes sperm cell.
Yeah, that's all fine. Like I'm just saying, something like intentionality just seems like pretty obvious to me that like that is a feature of the universe that exists, right? Like when I even introspect about my own thoughts, like there's no thought that I've ever encountered in my life that isn't directed towards something.
Yeah, but don't you have something different than hydrogen and oxygen molecules when they bond together seem to have these chemical properties? Like, right,
it's some analogy, right? Doesn't mean they don't exist.
Agree, but then we're talking about a different level of existence.
No, I don't think entropy is there in the fundamental ontology of existence.
But good, and entropy is an abstraction that refers to other things, right?
No, entropy is a tendency of physical things to go from highly ordered states to less ordered states.
Yeah, tendency is abstraction. Tendency is not hydrogen, right?
But that doesn't mean it's not real. You just keep circling back on this, right? Yes, but you're just it seems like you're just stipulating that everything that's not hydrogen is a fiction.
Can I run you through a quick syllogism? Sure. Before you walk the doggy. All physical P1, all entities are epistemic. Let me write them actually in the chat as I do this. Boom, P1. All physical entities are epistemically open, can in principle be discovered, measured, revised, or empirically identified. Yep. Cool. P2. Props are epistemically closed. Once a proposition is fully grasped, there is no further discovery to be made about it as that proposition.
No, I'm not sure how empirical seems strange there, that we're empirically apprehending propositions. That could be right. I'm not sure about that. But when I say something when I say epistemically closed, what I mean is that one mind can't share it univocally with another mind, right? We can use language to approximate it, right? But we can't actually share it in the same way we share looking at a ball, right? So that's what I mean by epistemically closed. When something is not available to everyone that comes in contact with it, right? So your thoughts are immediate to your experiences, right? Whereas your thoughts are not immediate to me. I have to get them mediated, right? But the ball is immediate to both of us.
Yes. Well,
so I'm not sure P2 is tracking what I'm talking about.
You have to see the ball and have thoughts about the ball, and then I have to see the ball and have thoughts about the ball, right?
Yeah, but if we assume our faculties are functioning correctly or whatever, right? The thoughts that we're going to have about the ball are going to be similar because we're both going to be noticing the features of the ball.
Sure, but
whereas the thoughts that me and you have about an imaginary ball are going to be different, right? Because we're not both noticing the features of something in the world, right?
Well, we are actually though, but we're doing it in a much more roundabout way. When I say imagine a pink unicorn, I'm asking for you to go into your memory and think about every experience you've had that maps to a unicorn. And then I'm going to practice the same thing. That effectively is an exercise, right? Because the memories that we're looking at are made of fatty tissue and electrical signals, and we're just kind of running a similar chemical.
Rather ugly. How about that?
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't think about that. Mills, are you gonna be back on in an hour?
So Jim, I think
Yeah, come back on. Hold on, Preeti. Jim, that was pure ownage. I like it. Real quick, Bob, Crimsonite down in the chat wants to speak with you. JP, welcome to the stage. Welcome, Sheehan. I tried to get you a while ago. Islamic, you're here. Glad to see you. Ray, do you want to make your day with Mel real quick?
Andrew, I first want you to admit that you're sexually attracted to me.
I mean, I'm not, but I don't know who couldn't be. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Or who? It's something that I don't know. There's some magnetism you have, right?
Wow, thank you. A lot of women have told me that. Thank you.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate that. Hopefully you'll grace us again soon, maybe in about an hour or so. The Jew will be here, I'm sure.
Wait, I want to make sure the Jew doesn't believe in God, right?
Yeah, I know. You're like, right? You're like, tell me that's true. I mean, you don't, do you, Millet? I mean, really, Millet, you haven't actually shifted to believing in God yet, have you? I mean, please tell me that's true.
God is real and Allah is His messenger. Thank you.
Ray, come back soon. Free, are you?
God is real and Allah is His messenger. Let's all take a moment and process what
Sounds like that's what we've got. That's the kind of of stuff we got from our brother-in-law. But Bree, let me just ask you a question, brother. Were you spanked as a kid?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. See, I think I don't know.
There's something to it.
Sayla, that was very mean. I was in the process of trying to hook my dog up to a leash, and I couldn't focus on what I was saying.
That
That's
makes
okay,
sense.
brother.
No,
We forgive
it
you.
is okay. We still love you. But yes, Bree, I do think there's something to it. And yeah, I'm getting a lot of this SJW far left, child abuse, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah. T and I had a little falling out because I told him that I think spanking in certain contexts is appropriate. He was yelling at me at the top of his lungs. It's time for you! Oh, wow. I've never heard him yell like that. Yeah, what's up?
So, on my position with, me and Albedo had a class with the Titans, and I've been getting trained in the background, kind of like, have you ever seen dodgeball when they're being trained?
I need to. I have it. It's on my list.
It's fine, yeah. It's on that first if you got it.
Nice, okay.
Like,
I might need your password for you, but anyway.
Neurodivergent people, they practice going up to the counter to I'd like to order a sandwich. I feel like when it comes for me to debate him, I'm going to be like, hi, I'm
Nice.
Real quick, Andrew, would you mind removing Cynic from the stage among Kabbalah?
No, but he would forgive me also.
You know what I hate so much about Muslims? You are allowed unlimited forgiveness. Listen. Why follow anything?
I know it's not Christianity.
Eat pork, drink alcohol.
Isn't that what Westminster was?
What do you like to do to Muslims? You're the Muslim.
Exactly. Usually for a Christian, right? You're confusing with Christian.
So why have the rules set? Why have the rules set?
The rules are guidelines.
Andrew, can you handle this? You have the time.
Well, here's the point. If the laws are supposed to be a reflection of moral truth, and we'll be rigorous about that, but they're actually based on a moral code that's flexible. It's kind of weird. But I will say
Cynic lived in a joint family.
It's kind of weird.
Cynic lived in a
you hear it, Bob? Okay, then it's the one that said it. But here's the expression. The expression is it's subjective.
Every opinion is subjective.
Do you think that every
argument that is logical? Yes, you can.
Is that all subjective?
That's all subjective unless we both ground ourselves in accepting an objective morality.
No, that just has to do with agreement. That doesn't mean that it's subjective.
Well, and we can't, if you're trying to say, hey, can we prove a moral objective framework? What do you mean by prove it?
Onto that truth, that objective truth, as you see it. Don't you agree that what you have claimed is some objective truth? You have said something that's objectively true.
The issue is whether I can justify what I'm claiming to be the truth.
Justification right now. I'm saying if it's
that's all that matters.
No. Hold on. You justify the objective, and you make a claim, or you use words to describe that objective thing. So are you making a claim consistent with that objectivity or that objective truth? That you have made a claim that is objectively true. You made a statement that is objective. Right. Fine. No. It's subjective in this thing, like where you're claiming, oh, well, that's your subjective opinion. No. Look, I'm not. That's not. You're not.
So you're telling me I'm not doing a proper internal critique? I didn't know you were profit.
Are you staying or are you going, Ray?
I'm going.
Okay. Come back to the same brother.
Wait, Andrew, can you just say you'll spank me one more time?
I will spank you, but it's going to be disciplinary, no sexual connotation.
I'm here for that spanking stuff.
Okay. Now, Cynic, it's good to have you, brother. I'm glad you changed your profile. Sheehan, are you there? Are you there? Sheehan Saha. Sheehan Saha. Can you unmute, my brother? And welcome, JP, by the way. I see that you're the one that somebody was running for Congress. It's not JP. JP or Sheehan, or either of you there. Let's do it this way, because this is going to be, people say, like, tell me, give me a list of your favorite movies. It's probably easier to give a list of your favorite movies rather than a list of movies you don't like, or maybe, whatever. So let's do it like this. All those who think that spanking your children as a form of discipline is appropriate, at least sometimes, it'd be interesting to hear from those people. if they want to say, me, if you want to, or put a thumbs up, or whatever you want to do. But Bree, you do know that most people on, your side, the atheistic side, they almost consistently want to take this position that you shouldn't spank your children.
Yeah, I know.
What do you think about that?
Find it interesting because he was talking about child abuse. When it's wrong, when they don't consider abuse in general, even adult abuse. So him yelling at you at the top of your lungs, that his lungs and all this stuff, he had considered way emotional stress that may cause you. Who cares? You may feel like he was abusing you. And he probably could voice it out, man. I bet he won't sleep on the same thing. But the point of the matter is, I think people, again, are hypersensitized, so they don't understand or consider these options. And it's not saying that you have to do it and it must be done and you have to go to some extreme length with it. It's just a matter that it's an option depending on the situation. And I think it's fine, of course, coming from my side, but for people like that, I think they, like I said, it's like they have this. It's weird. It's ironic. I think what you point out when you ask me this is that you see the temperament of people who aren't disciplined as adults. They quick to anger, they quick to violence, they quick to just be rude and disrespectful. Like the ideal of actually having some respect and discipline is not really there. And I think it's because of that reason.
Yeah, but I think that's a unfair thing to judge by just one person's reaction. There could be other
No, I'm not talking about one person.
Hang on, there could be other.
I was talking about you cut me off. Yeah, it's fine.
But I didn't cut you off. You were done. You keep talking. You're the boss. You go.
I'm the boss now because I wasn't done. Come on, now, JC. You're better than that.
Okay, to be cut off would be you're speaking and
I paused.
You're speaking.
Yeah, I paused. Again, you see this, Andrew? If that wasn't me, I wouldn't have done all this shit. It's just weird. You see the common pattern of these people, and this is my base. This is fucking atheist. Like everything is some type of fight or some type of offense that's personal. If it was me, I'm sorry, bro. I thought you was finished. I would just back the fuck up. I wouldn't even say nothing. I'm sorry, bro. I didn't mean it. And I do it all the time. No, yes, exactly. I'm talking forever, right? Listen, you see this?
I don't understand it. I mean,
all the time, they think this is normal for them. Because the internet has been a troll's paradise since it started, and this is just one of another avenue. But it's fun to them. And let's just say this, and I'm laying on this. Let's just say I had some issues to where I was suicidal, and this could push me over the brink. Do you think they'd know it's fun? Of course they wouldn't, because it's fun for them. Go on to troll the next person, and then if the shit news like, oh man, we need to be courteous of how we treat people. While they're trolling. A bunch of fucking hypocrites, they don't really care and practice the shit they preach. So go ahead, JC, you got a problem.
So I may have misunderstood. Deepak, can I elaborate? So I may have misunderstood. Are you saying because the way someone is raised, and you're basing that based on an interaction that Andrew had with T, and saying that T, he was not raised properly, and that's what
I said spanking.
Am I getting interrupted now? I think that's an example being cut off, because I was actually mid-word. I was actually in mid-word.
This is
I'm giving me fucking thumbs down. Fuck you, give me thumbs down, bitch. Fuck
Andrew, let him finish his question.
Fuck you, bitch. You're an atheist.
Yeah, I'm an atheist, so shit on the atheist.
He's a retard.
I'm a retard. Okay, so Andrew, what am I getting wrong? I may be mistaken.
That's fine, sir. We were talking about child discipline, and I brought up the passage in the Bible that states that discipline with a rod, that you should not eat. The expression spare the rod, spoil the child doesn't have.
Yes, I heard all that. I'm talking about the interaction with T.
Well, when you said that, I said that it's clear that, like,
You said this is based upon me hearing Free. Free made a statement, the way people are raised, they react in a way that they are emotionally immature, and that is why so is he basing that upon one interaction with you sharing your interaction with T? Because I'm still fucking talking. There can be other underlying issues as to why This individual reacted the way they reacted, and it's not fair.
I think JCC is a bit undisciplined. I think.
Yeah, I'm very undisciplined. Fuck you. Fuck you.
So do you think we might have to give JCC a bit of a spanking under?
Yeah,
I don't think we got enough.
Bring it on, bitch.
Here's what I think. Here's what I think Bree was saying, and Bree was wrong, but he sees that a lot of people probably weren't spanked, or they're very anti-spank. They're against spanking, and maybe it wasn't administered properly, or anything like that.
So, are you basing that on that one interaction with T and T alone by broad brushing it? That's the problem.
Am I basing that? Free wasn't
JCC, go to your room.
No, he actually never made the statement, Andrew. I made the claim. I made the statement. So yes, me.
Yeah, but are you basing it?
I'm saying the accumulation in these areas, you see a commonality with people who kind of have a strong family structure that has some type of disciplinary, do whatever they want, believe whatever they want, so they kind of behave, in my opinion, like a child. Like there's no guidance. They are adults who kind of lash out and don't have a lot of emotional control.
Like JCC.
Were you spanked as a child, Jake?
Yeah, I was.
No, not parents.
Wow.
Do you think you turned out good, JCC?
Yes, I'm good.
No.
So do you think spanking can be good?
No. I don't spank. I never spanked my daughter, and she's 17 today, and she's very well behaved.
Well, what I'm saying is do you think spanking harmed you?
Possibly could have, yeah.
Okay, so maybe it did something negative to your personality and who you are today, or do you think?
I wouldn't deem it all.
Your personality is really bad.
Can you shut the fuck up?
As we can see.
As we can see, yeah. I don't give a fuck what anybody in this fucking room thinks about my fucking personality, right? Your views don't affect me one iota, right? So spanking.
We're making you really angry.
I don't
understand this guy. Why is he?
I don't think spanking is the way to discipline. There are many other ways that you can discipline a child without spanking. You don't need to.
But what I'm saying is there a right way to spank? Is it ever?
Okay. When did you stop beating your wife there, Andrew?
That's a weird question to ask.
Well, when you just ask, is there a right way to spank? It's the same form of question, you dumb fuck.
You would just say no. It's not the same as asking when did you stop beating. Oh, hold on, great. That's not the same as saying. That's not the same as saying when did you stop.
It is exactly.
No, it isn't. If you say
JCC is not being delusional.
You're delusional, you dumb fuck.
What's spanking?
What's those wonderful?
What are we talking about here?
Oh, God, language. You fuck shit. Cocksucker.
JCP, please listen. Welcome, Mr. Welcome, Abby. Welcome, receiver. Mr. Whoopi. Hold on, Mr. Whoopi. Mr. Whoopi, hold on, guys. I know that Whoopi I know that Whoopi normally has like some sexual overtone, whatever. Maybe But hold on, Cynic. But would you say, Mr. Whoopi, that hold on, Cynic. Mr. Whoopi, would you say that
We correct people by speaking properly now, and to be a little bit more intelligent with what you say, instead of using all these words that people use. So unfortunately, when people are speaking nowadays, they get very testy over words that we humans have created. So how is it that we get upset over words we created to sound like we're really off the wall?
So I guess I'm going to put, so let me get this clear. If you were to have kids today, you don't have to talk about your personal life, but if you were to have kids today, what do you think the appropriate way to deal with a child who is incorrigible? Let's say they don't want to listen to things you tell them to do, they won't reason, you can't give them any positive or negative reinforcement other than spanking scenes that works. What do you think is?
Well, I'm the adult. We're paying the bills, so then we hand them a little piece of paper that when they can understand, here's your educated way of how you have to live or not. Here's how the door works. You go out it, I close it, I change the locks. You have your own life. Now, when you become responsible, there you go.
But I'm fine. How are you going to lock the door and leave me out? You're going to go to
Right. right, so there are kids
Well, you see, there's two ways how to work
Why
that.
did you have me?
Because you see,
Why did you have me if you're gonna throw me up?
well, you see the whole point.
Fun, Cindy.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
So a 5-year-old tells you as their father, shut the F up, I'll do what I want.
I'm gonna be in foster care and you're gonna be in jail.
Hold on.
And you were good for it by speaking to him.
Julie, I don't understand. How are you defending this stuff? But you're like the most inspired caretaker imaginable. Like you are just the kind of person who would like let their child like climb into an oven.
If Sasha's father spanked him, we wouldn't have Sasha like this. He would be a sane human being.
Thank you, Roger.
But see what I'm saying? Like,
This is why I is important.
You make a good point.
It's like the same way you deal with adults today. Adults are talking to each other like this, and how you deal with them, you know?
The way we deal with incorrigible adults in certain states is we take them out and we take some firearms and we shoot them in a firing squad. Hold on, mister. Oh yeah, exactly. Hold on, just saying, brother. So Mr. Whoopi, we take them out and we use guns as I think it was in Idaho. One of the states just made the fire. They brought back instead of a penalty, they brought back a form of the death penalty, firing squad. And so this is a recent thing, right? So that's how people deal with certain people who are incorrigible today. So I'm just kind of wondering what you think about certain children who are there, who are not doing the right thing, and they're completely.
Yeah, the ones who are spanked, learn that that's the correct way to use your emotions whenever you're upset is to strike somebody. Frustrations of somebody that can't keep their hands to themselves, and somebody that can't compel themselves to act a little better. There is no reason to strike a child out of anger. There's no reason to lay your hands on a child out of anger. That is abuse.
I got you. Okay, well, I appreciate what you
but I'm just being very careful here. Right? Like clearly this plan is like you're going to spank the shit out of the child, and then explain to him very carefully that look, this is not how adults handle like disputes, right? Like we talk, we kind of have.
For that, you kind of thank them so they know because they're kind of like animals. So we're kind of rails. So
here's the
thing.
Okay, by the way, who else has kids? So the people who are talking, they see that.
I have 2 children in their teenage years.
Okay. I mean,
I barely ever had to
we don't have to ask
my children or spank them. They are amazing.
I think first of all, probably majority of them, well, maybe not a majority, but at least half the state has kids.
Okay, well, the people who are talking
Except for you, who is condoning striking a child, and I really hope that you don't have children out.
Even striking a child, you think he's advocating for putting a child in a hospital or something? No, he's not.
And let me just say this real quick.
Yeah, no, you can't control his frustration whenever he can't keep his hands to himself.
That's not him in school. He's talking about using physical discipline.
That's correct.
Which is wrong.
So using physical discipline on any metric is wrong.
That's what she's arguing.
Look, are you arguing for that? So they were just clear.
Right.
Yeah, so him.
So we're talking even a slap on the wrist. Are you against giving a 5-year-old a slap on the wrist?
Yes.
That's what I'm going to say. So if a child keeps drawing on your walls that you painted for like $1 billion, and then he keeps drawing on them, and you say, no, Kevin, stop drawing on the walls that I painted with velvet white that cost $6,000. And Kevin keeps drawing on the walls. It's time, no problem. I'm watching the children. So the first time I spoke to him, he was understanding, which he can't reason. He's a 5-year-old. He's drooling on himself, so I'm going to slap him on the wrist. So he knows now. He can recall that pain. He can back to wiring. I'm sorry. It's a time-tested method that has been working since
walk away from
We built civilization on those we built civilization.
Yeah, but we also create people like you who think that feel rape is okay, right?
There we go. And deep. I don't know what you're. What do you got? Deepak is about to expose me. Oh my god. They're about to expose me. Oh my god. The 80% country of fucking child marriage is about to expose me. Get the fuck out of here.
There's one way to do discipline. You see, Sonic, this is one way to do discipline, right? You don't have to do any physical violence on you. I just ensured that you couldn't speak.
In a white out.
There are ways to do discipline without being difficult.
Put them in the corner.
Yeah. I'm not Sonic.
I had the experience of being a young boy. You need to smack your kids, dude. Like you have to.
There's so much discipline in the first place, right? Like, why do you think just because your parents did it, you have to do it? Like, I don't get it. Like, I mean, it's just so abundantly obvious to anybody who has kids. Like, you teach kids that this is the way you handle, like, issues. That it should be like, Deepak. Well, no, should be like, I have been saying. Well, there are times when I get upset with my kid and I yell at him. Like, I've never hit my kid, right? And I yell at him. Aggression just repeating itself, right? And I'm trying hard to, like, stop myself from doing that, okay? And, like, the fact that people think it's okay to, like, smack a 5-year-old around, right, when he's drawing on the wall.
Smack him around is different. But yeah, I got you.
Basically,
I don't believe you.
The thing is that getting a child is just going to make them, caught and get caught doing it. So.
Okay. Well, let me just say this, Deepak. For the majority of our history, just cultures all around the world, and the norm. This is not something that has not been a norm. You can look up Spain, rules and stuff on this. Hold on, real quick.
People have actually done studies to understand what the effect
I
is.
understand. And those are I'm aware of that. Yeah, I'm aware of that. And there's studies that are saying it's beneficial. And so you can start here. Let's just start. But by the way, and I'm going to be, just to be clear, I think what's going to happen here, Deepak, in this quarter, there's going to be a decoupling from what I would say Christians can accept as being the gospel as far as science goes. When it becomes
sorry, I have to go actually. Like, can you send it to me by chat or whatever it's called?
I can't. I'd like to read it. Can you come back? Can you come back soon? Can you come back soon?
No, it'll be 2 weeks for flying out to Costa Rica. But
wow, okay.
Andrew, I think it's a piece of shit because he's just talking shit to the chat and being a prick.
Also, Andrew, do you plan to have children someday?
I want to try this thing actually over the same.
You can't do that. Yeah, Cynic, stop doing Cynic. No, don't do that. Hold on. Yeah, you can't do that, Cynic. Or delete that. If you say anything more like that, I'll kick you out, bro. Don't do that. Don't do that, bro. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Sorry, Necro. That's not right. Cynic, don't do that. Yeah, for sure. Don't do that, Cynic. If anything like that happens against me, tell me I'll remove it. But here's the thing. Congressman, I'd like you to speak up here. He said, you don't need to know, bro. This is not good. But here's the thing. I'm saying that there are going to be studies that are going to come out as things become progressively, by at least a Christian trajectory, more decadent. And there's going to be... Okay. All right, bro. Got to remove you, Cynic. Appreciate you.
Sorry to interrupt you.
It's fine. As things go on, oops.
I don't know why people don't like him. He really is.
Yeah, he typically goes off the rails. I'm hopeful as you busted that people stop doing that stuff.
He was the only one supporting your view, though.
And what does that mean? I mean, that's like kind of a ridiculous.
Well, it's like having Hitler on stage.
No, if you're gonna star power. By the way, when you said he's the only one, no, obviously 3 defended as well. So don't say stuff like that either. Great, wrong. You're not listening. I don't know if there's anybody up here. Saul, welcome. Crimsonite, you're up here too. You might have something to say. Crimsonite, where are you at on child discipline?
Yeah, it is necessary sometimes. You should
corporal, right?
Yeah, never go beyond what's necessary. I'll call it like this because I think there's this it's stigmatized into making it appear as though it's child abuse unjustified. You can look at it as restraining the child from conducting self-destructive behavior.
Yeah.
Because whether it's drawing on the wall or hitting another, whatever, stealing, as they grow older, without the discipline, if they can talk to horses, they'll guarantee they will. But, I think there's a strong thing to do. It'll make them self-destructive. So,
violence is not the same as emotional violence. So you can fuck someone up maybe really hard by being a father and then embarrassing them. So imagine if they stole and you just utterly embarrassed them.
Yeah, that's true.
Made them go to the store. You know how bad that is?
Yeah. I hear you guys, and I don't want to take a hard shift here. I just want to welcome somebody I've been trying to get to come on forever, but he's like a celebrity, so he's impossible. He's just become too big for his britches. But Matthew Adelstein, my friend, how are you? It's good to see you, buddy.
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Very, very good. There's been a lot of things that have been happening. So, Graham Hoppy, I'm sure you've heard of that guy before.
Yes.
Do you know about Roger, his, I don't know, PhD, grad student, or whoever it is? The one that's, I don't want to say his name. Anyway, he does a lot of different, he does like this thing online where he gets philosophers together, or a philosopher and then a bunch of, different people to kind of get on and critique the guy's position on something or asking questions or whatever the case may be. Do you know who that guy is? I'm talking about Roger. Okay. Well, anyway, he came on recently and had a discussion with Sasha about psychophysical harmony. Really, really good. Poppy is coming out, I guess, with a response. I don't know, he's writing a paper or a book, or I don't know, I can't even remember exactly what it is, but something supposedly to address psychophysical harmony. And he's also going to be sitting down with Brian Cutter soon to address.
I think the Cutter thing already happened.
Oh, really? Is it out? Is it watchable?
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Did you watch it?
I actually watched it right before I joined, so 10 minutes before I joined.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I think Sasha did some good work at showing that at least what Roger was bringing to the to refute psychophysical harmony was not going to work. And so it kind of ended a little bit bitter, I think, just because Sasha was kind of putting some zingers in there. But anyway, where are you at with psychophysical harmony? Are you thinking that's pretty legit? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a great argument.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, there are these two hypotheses that it seems like that the root contains as good or better to explain all the constants, or to be, just posit that as the explanation. What do you think about that?
I think it's a methodological point, which is, in general, you should not think that events happen that have a probability on the order of money. There's some explanation. But if you go see, let's say, cosmological constants, you end up with probabilities on the order of money. It's like, even if you're really sure, if you think the odds are 99.999% that the probability that
You're a little quiet, Matthew. I apologize. You're a little quiet, my brother. Are you able to come up to your microphone a little closer? That's worse. I don't know if you have a little headset or anything.
Disconnect.
Oh, way better. Way better.
Okay.
Way better. Yeah, thank you, brother. Go.
Right, so it's like, even if you're 99.999% sure that the odds that God would, if you think the odds are 1 in a billion, that the right view would assign odds of 1 in a billion to God creating a finely tuned universe, then that's just way more plausible, because that's way more than 1 to 10 to the 120th. So all this is to say that I think really just saying it's a brute fact is a very bad explanation, because it's so likely that the brute fact would be that in particular, that it would send it to that specific number.
Yeah, very good. I did want to say too, I watched your discussion, I think I got all the way through, with Matt Dillahunty, and that was painful. Did you guys have any big conversation? Because basically I felt like it was you just explaining explaining things to Matt Delonte at various points in the discussion. I don't think it was much of a, intellects going to war over this issue. I didn't know that's what was going on, at least, with the similar knowledge base and philosophical understanding. So have you guys had any post-debate discussion, or has there been anything happened since then between you and Dylan?
No. Yeah, we haven't talked since then. I mean, I have a part two or whatever, but.
Okay. Yeah, very good. Well, I'm sure noticed that your kryptonite is up on stage, aka Mark Grant. Yeah. So
the one man I fear.
But there's another man that thinks people fear him anyway. I'm just playing, but it's CM. He's got a PhD in mathematics. You like that?
I'm going to veto this conversation.
You're going to veto? Yeah. I don't blame you. I'm not going to pursue it. But I just want to say there's several people here that still want to say the fine tuning is a bad argument, and they give various things, various different responses that I think have been less than adequate. But one thing people want to say is this royal flush comparison is not good. Because they're like, well, any set of 5 cards, specific 5 cards, are equally as probable as getting a royal flush. So, why are you even saying that? And so I don't think they understand why that analogy's even made. How do you understand it?
Right, I think that's a point in favor of the royal flush example. It's like you're not with the times when you infer that there's some designer or when there's some agent behind something is if the thing is really improbable, but there's some not extremely improbable reason why an agent might want to bring that about, right? So, that's true in the royal flush case. You can see a story about why an agent would want to get a royal flush in poker. And so it's not very, so even though you think the odds of the person cheating maybe are low, it's higher than the odds of them getting 10 royal flushes in a row. And so similarly, even if you think that the odds that, God exists prior to considering fine tuning, they start out low, and the odds of God finally tuning the universe are low, so long as the odds are higher, because it's specific, then it'll be evidence for theism.
Okay, fair enough. Do you think, what is what's the, I don't know how long we have you, Matthew, I'm sure Mark and Bob, maybe others want to talk to you, but what is where is it ended with you and Mark as far as when you guys have talked about this issue, what is it left on as far as you remember? If you were to steel man his overall position in response?
I mean, if I remember correctly, I think, we broadly agree that the right way to go if you're an atheist is to posit multiverse, and that there are some costs to that, and that there are some costs to the theistic explanation. And I think that the theistic costs are a lot lower. He thinks that the multiverse costs are lower. I don't know, Mark, do you think that's a fair assessment?
Well, I mean, yes and no. I'm sympathetic to the multiverse objection, and I probably defended it in the comment section of some of your blog posts at some point. But my main sort of primary tack that I take is rather different. It's more based on the sort of Jonathan, I think his name is Jonathan Weisberg. I might be confusing him with someone else named Jeremy Weisberg. But the objection is just that essentially, sorry, I'm a little distracted by a video that I was passively watching on my computer. But basically, you shouldn't think that the prior on your own existence is really high, perhaps even 100%, although it doesn't have to strictly be 100%. And from that, you're going to be able to rule out a priori all the possible universes in which you don't exist.
Is this the same view as John Carroll? Like a Weissman and John Carroll's view? Are they not?
I'm not super familiar with anything with Fletcher Sean Carroll. I know it has anything to do with what he's doing.
I mean, so I don't know I understood Weisberg's point to be different. I mean, maybe
is just that is not that the constants happen to be set in a really narrow range to support life, whereas they could have been set, falling outside of it. What we learn rather is that the range of constants happens to be
long because I'm currently trying to pack, and it's like it's easy to pack if I can have headphones in, but apparently my audio is really bad with headphones, and so it's kind of hard to pack and like hold up a phone. But sorry, so I with the Weisberg point, I'm not sure why you're saying that we knew a priori that the universe was life permitting. Like it seems like maybe what the fine-tuning argument illustrates is just the universe being life permitting at all is really improbable.
But I mean, it's clear. I know you do and have disagreed with this, but I think it's the opposite of improbable. It's extraordinarily probable. It is, as prior, close to about 100%, if anything does.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that's the right way of thinking about priors. I mean, it's true that before you knew about fine-tuning, you were quite sure that you existed. But it can still be surprising that the universe was finally good. So imagine there were two theories. One theory said that there was a three-sided die that was rigged, and if it came up one, then the universe would be life permitting. And the other theory said that there was a 10 quadrillion sided die that would be rigged, and the universe would only be life permitting if it came up one. I think that the fact that the universe is life permitting is very strong evidence for the first of those.
I mean, probably I want to agree, but I think that my view is going to be able. I think probably I'm going to be able to square those intuitions in a way that is not going to necessarily be analogous with the fine-tuning data of the universe. But I mean, there's like a sense in which I'm ultimately going to bite the bullet on some of like the firing squad thought experiments. Well, hold on, let me finish. I mean, realistically, of course, I'm going to say that the fact that everyone missed, the fact that you survived is amazing evidence that the firing squad missed. But what's doing the work is not what you think is doing the work, and what's doing the work doesn't have clear analogies, which is fine-tuning case. So, for example, with the firing squad case, I like distance. I can see that the bullets missed, and that's very unlikely on the deliberate. The bullets miss. I don't feel any pain. I just feel normally, right? And even if I survive, miraculous. That's what's giving me the evidence that the firing squad missed on purpose. So now you imagine, okay, maybe I'm given some sort of like total sort of anesthetic that removes all of my sensory organs. I can still think, but I can't sense or feel or hear literally anything. I mean, at this point, it's getting like extremely exotic. So, I mean, now the fact that I survive, I can draw from my sort of general knowledge of the world. So, for example, one hypothesis, the two hypotheses in question now are not just that they missed on purpose or that they missed by accident. There's a third secret hypothesis, which is that they hit me and did in fact when I'm living as a ghost. Okay, but now I can sort of draw on my past memory of sort of all of the empirical information that I've gotten about the world and about how ghosts probably don't exist, certainly not in this sort of sensory deprivation state. So I can say, okay, well, if they hit it, then that would confirm some, the hypothesis about, the existence of ghosts that I have reason. All of this prior background knowledge for thinking is very unlikely. So this hypothesis is, disfavored compared to them missing it on purpose. So now you can try to kick that away too. You can now further abstract away the idea that I can remember anything about the world other than the fact that I'm in front of a firing squad.
I mean, now this is just becoming so exotic that although I might have to bite the bullet, it doesn't feel like a huge cost because it doesn't really correspond to any remotely realistic scenarios. Like I expect I expect weird epistemic conclusions to follow from incredibly exotic epistemic setups.
Yeah, I guess I don't find it's like the things that you describe changing don't seem to be what make a difference to like the firing squad case. So like if you imagine a scenario where the firing squad case, there's a dragon and like just a bunch of bizarre stuff that's happening. There's one sense in which it's exotic, but there's another sense in which I still trust my intuitions. I still find the viewpoint pretty unintuitive, and I want to know more details about some of the specific things. But I probably can't like talk very much. But yeah, let's discuss this more at some other time.
Darn. Matthew, are you able to listen for a bit, or are you just gonna, or you got other things going on? You got to roll, or what's going on, buddy?
Yeah, so I could probably listen. I mean, currently I'm leaving Michigan and returning to LA.
Oh my goodness.
Packing up my stuff.
Oh my gosh.
And so it's hard to like pack and hold up a phone. But yeah, I'll probably listen.
You don't have Bluetooth earbuds or anything yet, or headset, or?
I have headphones, but the headphones, the audio quality you were saying was bad.
Oh, I mean, we can try it again. Can you put it on one more time? Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll see.
I have a question, Andrew. Like,
how about now?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's doable. Yeah. Good. Go ahead. Hold on, Morgul. Go ahead.
Because usually we talk about like Jesus and like Muhammad and stuff like that.
Oh,
it seems that like those that can follow this sort of discussion, the interface is tenuous at best. Although it's almost comically.
I'm not sure what your motive is here, Daniel, exactly, but it seems like that. This is very much the kind of conversation. Even if it was something that we don't have, we want to have it, and I certainly want people like Matthew to be here. So I'm not sure what you're driving at, but
you seem to think that what this man is saying bolsters your claims about a God that you interact with personally.
Well, presumably both.
It's just let me nothing. There's something more Pokemon thing.
Hold on, Sam. You guys are being. If you say the Pokemon stuff again, I'll probably just move you down just because you're not even understanding. Because you're not understanding what is going on here, and I've already explained this multiple times. It's really simple. If you have somebody who is a theist, like Matthew is, even if he's not a Christian theist, if he makes arguments that lift theism, it will lift Christian theism as well. Probably, I think that's correct. So it doesn't matter because it's still the case that theism, if that was an argument that can be had and it can be had well and defended well in favor of theism, then obviously I want to get somebody to theism, and then from there I think Christianity is much more probable. And so, of course, I have interest in people like Matthew and people who are theists bringing arguments to the table. I mean, you trying to make it seem like all we talk about is cheeseburgers and, Jesus walking around or something. That's not true at all. Obviously, we talk about various philosophical arguments, the problem of evil, Molinism. We talk about free will. Ethan comes in here. We talk about all kinds of stuff. But the point is if we can get people to be theists, then I, for my purposes, I would like people to become Christian. Yeah, that's true. Same thing with anybody who's Christian. And people who are atheists, they would like the Poppy to give his arguments for atheism, and that would bolster their view. I don't understand why you have to make this point.
Yeah, so the idea is like, I'm not sure there's going to be. Yeah, so the idea is that, like the typical discussions we have, like interface in some way, maybe even in some tenuous way, with like discussions about like atonement and sinful things and salvation. But it seems that what's being discussed here is it just doesn't interface in any way which makes theism. Just relax, Adrian. Number one,
you don't want to waste his time. I feel like you're kind of wasting time right now.
No, I'm just saying that like these discussions don't interface whatsoever. They don't bolster any of the claims that you have. about the Bible being inerrant or anything like that. So you pretending that they do does nothing for you or anyone around you. The claims you make are not. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. If you think that,
Just stop for a second. Yeah. So
I'm
now
gonna
you.
use down then if you're not chill about it, you're getting like really.
Yeah, Daniel, you're
So-
totally pooping.
Yeah, and
You're
it's
pooping on the
it's-
party.
It's like the number one understand. Hold on, what's actually going on? Well, no, we're not gonna do this anymore. So what's actually going on, Daniel, I appreciate you, but what's actually going on here is it doesn't really matter if you think my motivations or whatever. You said you pretending as. At no point did I say nor indicate nor try to express that what Matthew's doing or arguing for somehow defends inerrancy or some kind of theological doctrinal position that I hold. That's just
thing that you believe in. Whatsoever.
Theism, it depends nothing that they believe in.
It depends nothing you believe in. There's no anger.
Theism? Hold on. Do I believe in God, Daniel?
Yes, you do.
Okay, is he defending God?
As you describe God, no.
It doesn't matter. That's no. It
Rabbit
doesn't
trail,
matter.
rabbit trail, court mission.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
That's fine. We can please stop. I mean, if you want to keep pretending, bro, you have to concede one thing: that nothing that he's saying interfaces or is in the service of anything that you believe at all.
That's a stupid thing to say, Dan. You're not.
First of all,
He gave you an explanation as to why he is. This is your belief, Daniel.
You know, I want Matthew actually to respond to it. Go ahead, Matthew. What do you think about what Daniel's saying right now? You're on mute. No, hold on, Horrible. Hold on, Horrible. You're on mute, Matthew.
Matthew said he was gonna start packing. He couldn't talk.
Okay. So just to be quick, so we know what you did. Oh, I know what you did. No. Hold on. Because what you're doing, you're trying to. Wait, sorry. Yeah. You're trying. Hold on. Go ahead, Matthew.
Well, I was just gonna say, what isn't it's the middle ground? It isn't if and share all the same beliefs. So you could think what all the things I think. A Christian. I'm not a Christian. But of course, the arguments I hate for God existence, they render Andrew's beliefs more likely. Andrew's beliefs entail that there's a God. And so if there's a God, then they often probability.
Yeah, and that's just straightforwardly the case. Daniel, when you say, hold on, so when you say Daniel, when you say that it has nothing to do with what you believe, that's just a stupid claim. And I have no idea, other than just trying to make Matthew feel weird or trying to do some kind of weird thing we're trying to do right now.
But the God that he's describing, he's describing a different God than you believe. But why would it be in the service of your God?
What? Dude, this is
Rabbit trail, court mission.
No, but say, hold on, Daniel, that's obviously, look.
Andrew, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Obviously, he just told you here.
Both.
When you're ready. Okay. Reason, yes. It's just very, very stupid. First of all, I haven't said anything like, nor have I implied. I haven't said that apart from just God existing, I do think that it is in favor of that. And of course, I'm going to want him to speak. Why wouldn't I? We have plenty of atheists up here. There are plenty of people defending naturalism and all kinds of other stuff. It's completely fine for me to like somebody defending my position. You're being ridiculous right now, Danny. You're trying to push something very, very strange. You're trying to say that just because I want Matthew to speak, that somehow I'm putting off. Obviously, I think Matthew is eloquent and he's able to defend fine-tuning.
Dude, Andrew, you literally can't not take the bait. Like, just let it be. Let Mark and Matthew talk now.
Yeah. Well, that's fine, but I did want to give Daniel some kind of fair response because I feel like
okay, well, if we keep responding with Daniel, then we're just gonna, not have Mark and Matthew talk. Which one do you want?
No, that's fine. Well, no, he said he can talk now that he's got the Bluetooth. Well, I think he can. Maybe he can. But I think now that Bluetooth, then he can talk.
I have a quick question before they go.
If it will actually go. If it's not,
I I can talk, but I'm multitasking. So it's like talking with a guy like Mark Grant. You need to talk, right?
Well, I could in theory make it fair by splitting my attention between this and watching this video on YouTube that I was watching.
Oh my gosh.
I think it might be best to just talk
Reconvene. Yeah, that's fine.
I might be done packing someone soon.
Y'all are haters. We want to see it now.
Very good. Well, no, let me just say this. Matthew also we defend moral realism as well, right, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's obviously going to be something else I have interest in. So it's kind of weird. Obviously, I'm going to have interest in the discussions that are related to views, if you're for or against them. I mean, I'm interested in all of it. Mark, I have a great deal of respect for. He's on it. So I want to hear both of you. It's just really a weird thing Daniel just did. But Horeb, ask a quick question if you want to ask real quick, as long as it's relevant. Don't be weird. Matthew doesn't come on very often, and I very much appreciate he's here. So, did you want to say something, buddy?
Okay, so there's like an infinite amount of instantiations of the universe, right? Okay, so if there is, and there's a non-infinite amount of them that have life, what is the probability, right, that you're in a universe that has life? Is it 0%? I don't get this basic math pressure.
So there are different. The probability that you're in a universe that's like is one, because you couldn't be in any other universe.
Okay, yeah. Like it's already happened. I get it.
Yeah, but things can be improbable in one sense, in the sense that it's surprising that they happen, but they can be probable in another sense, in that you know that it's very likely that they did happen. So, like an example is, imagine that in order for you to be born, a trillion-sided die had to be flown. And that is not a problem.
Is the infinity is the denominator. But that's what I don't get.
So what about the, like, what are you
like rolling an infinite dice trying to get a subset of it? A subset of it.
So I guess so the probability of getting, like if you roll an infinity-sided die, the probability of getting.
So it's infinitesimal, right? That this exists.
Well, I guess if you might know what I would think it, but
why not? I'm curious about.
Well, it would be some impossible universes. The probability that we get this one. Sorry, so that's a different one. I thought you were imagining there was a multiverse, and then asking about what the probability is that we would find ourselves, that we'd be in a particular universe. But it's right. So with just possible universes, I think that's a slightly different issue, because the probability of any two universes is insane. So you can have it be the case that there are infinite universes, but the probability of any particular universe isn't zero. Like you could have the probability of universe 1 be 1/2, the probability of universe 2 be 1/4, probability of universe 3 be 1/8,